fight for their liberation.
GW Apparel, a clothing that speaks. Something for the kings, something for the queens. Visit uptsites.com and use promo code SLDG22 and receive 11% off your order. Peace.
It's the Ticket Plug. We've been running an online ticket business for over a decade, and now we've created an easy way for you to do the same thing through our private ticket resale community. Joining our community will give you a way to flip your bread and generate profit income consistently. We provide you with all the tools, training, and resources needed to start your life-changing online ticket business. Zero experience needed. To join our ticket resale community, go to thetickettrap.com. Again, go to thetickettrap.com. That's thetickettrap.com.
The Master's Table by DJ RP Beats and Sincere Love to God, now playing on the internet's #1 destination for true hip-hop. Introducing truthhiphop.com, a meticulously curated platform designed for connoisseurs seeking a superior quality of hip-hop. Immerse yourself in an unparalleled experience of 100% bar-heavy, authentically crafted, real hip-hop. Discover the essence of the genre, reminiscent of its golden era, now playing exclusively at truthhiphop.com.
Yeah, like that. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen.
I am Allah in the person of Sincere Love to God. That mean they arms too short like tall Anthony Shaw. Peace to the gods. What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. I am the God, Sincere Love. And I am here on another solo mission. Shout out to my lovely co-host, Nicey Girl. She is out doing her thing. She's out doing her thing right now. But I'm here with y'all, getting ready to hold it down. I appreciate everybody tapping in with me on another Sunday. As y'all coming up in here, y'all know what to do, man. Hit that like button for me. When you hit the like button, that helps to boost our live stream into the YouTube algorithm, and it also helps to make sure that people who are subscribed to us here on YouTube do get the notifications whenever we go live. So definitely want to hit that like button. Share this out on your social media platforms. Let everybody know that I am live right now. Share this out on your social media platforms and let everybody know that I'm live right now. When you click the share button and copy the link, it sends the same message to the YouTube algorithm as it would if you shared it with 1 million people, as it would if you shared with nobody at all. But just copying the link signifies to the YouTube that people are interested in this video, people are interested in this content, and it incentivizes them to show it to more eyes. You know what I'm saying? So even if you're one of those people that feel like I ain't got nobody to share with, don't nobody follow me on Twitter, ain't nobody checking for me on my post on Facebook or whatever, and you feel like you ain't gonna post it nowhere, that's fine. Just copy the link, hit the share button, and copy the link. It does the same magic trick. If you're not already subscribed to us here on YouTube, you definitely want to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes of Sincere Love the Godcast. This is our weekly broadcast where we come on here, chop it up about current events and other important topics that we feel are pertinent to what's going on in Black society, particularly foundational Black American society. And so that's what we do here each and every Sunday. And also we got our weekly broadcast called the Black Business Showcase, where we bring on business owners and entrepreneurs to chop up game with us about whatever industry that they might be in. So if you are a business owner, entrepreneur, and you would like to have your business featured on our channel, just hit me up, hit Nicey Girl up. I'm at Sincere Love the God on all social media platforms. She's at Nicey Girl with the #1 on Instagram and without the #1 on X, formerly known as Twitter. Or you could just send us an email, godcastenterprises@gmail.com. Let us know what you got going on so we could get you on the schedule for the Black Business Showcase. Shout out to everybody coming up in here. Rhythm and Black, salute. Cassette Records, peace, what's going on? What's going on? Crew Royalty in the building. What's going on? One of our channel members. You see him highlighted in the green. Shout out to Crew Royalty. No. Crew Royality. I always be messing up your handle. I got to get that right. I always be messing up your handle. It's not royalty. It looks like royalty when you look at it real fast, but it's Crew Royality. Got to get that right. Shout out to Crew Royality in the building. Said that beat goes hard. Shout out to DJ RP Beats. It's my brother RP. Shout out to Down to Earth Network. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Again, appreciate y'all coming up in here, man. I know some of y'all are disappointed not to see Nicey Girl up in here, but that's all right. I'm here. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to hold it down for y'all. We got a lot to talk about today, man. I'm going to try not to be on here too long with y'all, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Some things I'm just going to have to wait until Nicey Girl comes back for us to get into certain things. I'm not going to be able to cover everything that I want to cover here today, but couple of things I definitely want to get into today. The main topic that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on, we're going to be talking about continuing the conversation about this hip hop thing. The origin story of hip hop, still a very hot topic out here, still a very controversial topic for some reason when foundational Black Americans claim our own cultural heritage, when we claim our own cultural accomplishments and our own creations, it becomes very controversial because people are so used to just taking advantage of us and being able to just colonize us and gentrify us out of existence without too much pushback. You know what I'm saying? But things are different this time. And so us standing on lineage business is causing quite the stir. It's a lot of controversy around that topic. So we're going to get into that because I feel like a lot of people that are joining the conversation, a lot of people that are getting involved in the conversation, getting on these platforms, adding their 2 cents into the conversation, are not framing this thing properly. People are not having the conversation the way that it's supposed to be had. They're not addressing the core issue that needs to be addressed when it comes to that topic. People are creating all of these other frames of the conversation in order to address the part of the conversation that they want to deal with, the part of the conversation that they're comfortable with, the part of the conversation that kind of validates them to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? The part that they want to compartmentalize it and just frame it around the part of the conversation that fits their narrative. You know what I'm saying? And some people are doing it intentionally with nefarious intentions. And some people, I would say some people just don't have the full context of the conversation. They're kind of just now joining into the conversation, and they've only heard parts of the conversation, and they don't know what it's really all about. You know what I'm saying? And so some of that I want to definitely come on here and clear up today. There's a lot of people out there that are doing great work, that are having the right conversation and framing it the right way. And so, you know, I just want to add to that as best as I can. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to get into that a little bit later. Shout out to Cassettes and Records in the building. Part 1, Charlie Rock talks about Black Spade Gang, history of the burning Bronx 70s and birth of hip hop. All City Taxi Talk. LL Cool J documentary on hip hop beefs, origin of the GOAT, hip hop stories, off air interview. Are these what are these that you're mentioning here? Cassettes and Records. Are these different documentaries that you shouting out here that's dealing with the origins or parts of the beginnings of what we call hip hop? You said Grandmaster Flash discusses Kool Herc, African Bambaataa, and overcoming drugs and betrayal. These sound like, I don't know, these sound like YouTube video titles or something. Are you trying to direct us somewhere? These sound like YouTube video titles. I don't know what these are. Are these some documentaries or something? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's going to be the main topic for today that we're going to get into a little bit later. I want to know. He said this will give you the facts. These will give you the facts. Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure, because a lot of information about the origins of hip hop that's been around for a long time revolve around this mythological story. Because what people have tried to do was they try to take this is how religions come about, right? People try to take these complicated concepts, these complicated ideas, and simplify it in the best way that they can, just to make it a real easy story to tell, just to make it a real simple story to tell. And then that gets conflated as the reality. You know, this mythological story, this parable of a story gets turned into the actual facts of history. And that's what's been happening with hip hop for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And it's still going on now. And I think it's important to clear some of that up. And so when you say this, these will give you the facts, I don't know. There are certain facts that are included in the mythological story, but that doesn't tell it doesn't unpack what we're trying to do as far as establishing the real roots of where hip hop actually comes from. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, we definitely gonna get into that a little bit later. If they don't say created by Black Americans, then it's false. Right. And so, yeah, it seems like y'all ready to get into that one. But before we get into that, and again, I appreciate y'all coming up in here, man. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. How many of y'all are missing TikTok right now? That's the first thing I want to talk about. TikTok is officially shut down, I believe, as of yesterday. I wasn't very active on TikTok, so it really don't make me no difference personally like that. But I know TikTok was one of the most popular social media platforms out here. A lot of people post and engage with content on TikTok. A lot of people were making a living off of TikTok. A lot of people had were able to post content consistently over there to build up their audience. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people got very comfortable on that platform because I feel like the TikTok algorithm was probably the most friendly algorithm out of all of the big social media platforms, because said I heard it's back up. Shout out to Mama Love in the building with the super sticker and all of that. Appreciate you, Mama Love. So I heard it's back up now. It's not back up. I think people are just saying stuff. You know how the internet is. But no, yesterday was the deadline for them to have to shut it down. And so TikTok is officially shut down. But like I was saying, a couple of years back, I think like around 2021, 2022, I did start posting on TikTok. I was trying to get my TikTok thing going for a little minute there. So some people saying it is back. Cool Royality said it is back. I don't know. I seen somebody say that this morning, and when I checked, it still was shut down, because I seen people posting that this morning saying, "Oh, TikTok is back up," and I went to check to see if it was or not, and it wasn't coming up on my joint. And look, even on the App Store right now, it says downloads for this app are paused due to current U.S. legal requirements. That's what it says right now in real time. Because I deleted the app, I uninstalled it, and so right now, if I try to go download TikTok, this is what it says: downloads for this app are paused due to current U.S. legal requirements. So I don't know if y'all got a bootleg. I don't know if y'all got a bootleg version of TikTok right now, but it's not back up. I don't know if they got a bootleg version. You know, them Asians and them Chinese, they good for bootleg and shit. So maybe they got a bootleg version out there that y'all using. I don't know. Nothing but a G thing said it's back. My daughter is on it. How come I can't download it? Nothing but a G thing. I'm trying to download it right now while I'm live with y'all. No. Is it because I'm an Android? Is it only back for iPhone users or something? Is it only back for iPhone users? Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Let me see. Hold on a second. Let me see something real quick. We're gonna check. I want to see. I want to see if it's back up or not. Let me see. So hold on. Let me check. Hold on. Where we at? Hold on. Hold on a second, y'all. People are saying it's back up. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm calling my son Zelo right now. Zelo. Is TikTok working on your phone?
I deleted the app, so I can't even access it. But people saying that it's working.
Well, if you go to the app store, right now and try to download it, see if it works.
It's not on there.
It doesn't even come up, right?
Yeah, it's not on the app store now.
Yeah, so I don't know what
tomorrow probably.
I don't know what people are talking about.
Because they lifted the ban, so they put a hold on it for like 90 days or 30 days, something like that. But people are using it if they have it, and it'll be back on the app store tomorrow.
Okay, let me check the news. All right, good looking. Let me check the news. All right, Zelo said they lifted the ban and some people are back on it, but right now it's not accessible in the app store. So let me see what's the latest. Let me check the news. Let me see what's the latest. 32 minutes ago. This is from Forbes. This was 32 minutes ago. TikTok ban live updates. Trump says TikTok is back in victory rally as app restores access. Okay, President-elect Donald Trump chaired TikTok's return in a rally Sunday shortly after the platform welcomed back U.S. users, ending a 14-hour shutdown as a law banning TikTok nationwide took effect, with Trump promising to halt the ban when he takes office by extending a deadline for China-based ByteDance to sell the app. So, hold on. So I guess Trump made a move. Trump said, quote, "As of today, TikTok is back," unquote, while speaking during a victory rally as part of his 3-day inauguration event on Sunday, telling the crowd in D.C., "We have no choice. We have to save it," while suggesting the U.S. will own 50% of the company and what he referred to as a joint venture that would make a lot of money. So did they strong arm him a little bit? Did they strong arm 50% up out of him to get some act right? That's what it sounds like. Shout out to Nicety Girl in the building. Y'all say peace to my co-host, Nicety Girl in the building. Peace, God. I'm out with the girls having brunch, drinks, and a good time. What's up, Godcast family? What's up? What's good? You enjoy yourself. Be safe out there. You know what I mean? Y'all do y'all thing and get back to us safe. That's what you do. So it sounds like, Trump, the new administration, sound like they wrestled 50% up out of them to get them back up and moving. They I guess they was playing chicken because they were, from what I understand, they were supposed to sell the company by a certain deadline. And if not, then, the ban would take effect due to the new legislation that they put in place to ban TikTok. And I guess the Chinese company that owns TikTok, they must have been trying to call the U.S.'s bluff. The U.S. showed them that they wasn't playing and went ahead and shut that thing down. And some people got on the phone and said, all right, what y'all need? What y'all need? Let's work something out. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. So they say, hey, you have to give up 50%. Y'all gonna have to give up 50%, and we could work something out. And they said, all right, well, what the hell with it? Y'all gonna have to give 50% then, because the US, you know, they were saying, you know, this was really going to be beneficial to you know, the Meta platform, obviously the Twitter platform and stuff like that, but especially the Meta platform. And you know, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, he's been getting real cozy with the Trump administration also. You know what I'm saying? I seen recently one of his law firms had dropped him. They said they're no longer going to represent Zuckerberg and Meta anymore, because he's basically, they said he went full Nazi. They said he's on some Nazi stuff now, so we can't, in good faith, we can't represent him any longer. So they dropped him from their roster. And so the TikTok ban, you know what I'm saying? It's up in the air right now as far as how it looks. I can't get back on there. So we'll see. I guess they probably gotta you know, do whatever they do to get it back popping in the Play Store so people can re-download it. But again, I haven't been active on there. When I first got on there a couple of years back, you know, I was posting the same content that I post on Instagram and all of that. I would just repurpose it and post the same things over on TikTok. And it started taking off quick. Like I said, TikTok probably has the most friendly algorithm out of all of these major social media platforms. Like it's easier to grow there than it is anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? My stuff started taking off quick. Like within the first couple of weeks, I'm getting like 50,000, 60,000 views and all of that. People liking, sharing, the comments is going crazy. I started liking it. I'm like, oh, TikTok. Okay, I see why people is over here on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? And within the first month, I probably like the 3 weeks into it, they started giving me strikes and warnings, and you know what I'm saying? All of this stuff saying I was violating community standards and all of this stuff. And again, I'm posting the same stuff on all of the platforms. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing anything different. You know what I'm saying? But you know, talking about what we talking about is kind of frowned upon over there on TikTok. It's frowned upon across platforms. You know, all of them be on some shadow banning and you know limiting our viewership and all of that stuff. You know, across all of these platforms, they play games with our content. You know, when we on some Black first shit, but TikTok was real strict with it. You know what I'm saying? And before I knew it, they shut my page down. Within a month of activity, they shut my page down. And I had created another profile on there, but I just never, I'm like, I'm cool. You know what I mean? I ain't really get back active with it over there. You know what I'm saying? So when they said they were shutting it down, I'm like, good riddance. Good riddance. But I was looking into some of the reasons and possibilities of why they wanted to go so hard about shutting down TikTok. Now, they were saying, you know, this is a Chinese owned company. I forgot the name of the guy that owns the company or whatever, but it's a Chinese based company. And they were saying, you know, the Chinese are collecting the data of US citizens and are able to use it for nefarious reasons. You know what I'm saying? They're collecting our data and, you know, they're studying certain things about us over here as like a form of like some cyber warfare, you know what I'm saying? Like some digital snooping and spying going on. This is what they were saying the problem was with TikTok and why TikTok had to go. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of other people are saying, you know, no, there's more to it than that. Some people are saying there's a little more to it than that. And one of the things that people were saying was, you know, some of these big corporations over here in America didn't really want to have to compete with TikTok. Meta being one of them. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the viewership was getting more active over there on TikTok really than on Meta platforms. You know what I'm saying? So they're competing, you know, for the subscribers and the activity. You know what I'm saying? People spending time on these platforms. You know what I'm saying? And so Meta was one of the people who, you know, was facing some stiff competition from TikTok. And like I said, Mark Zuckerberg has been getting real cozy with the Trump administration ever since he won the election, right? And so that's one angle right there. And the other one is Amazon, because the TikTok shop start taking off real heavy. You know what I'm saying? TikTok shop, a lot of people are getting stuff from TikTok shop that they would normally be getting through Amazon platform. You know what I'm saying? TikTok shop started taking off real big. And that was giving some stiff competition to Amazon. So it's like, you know, these guys trying to eliminate the competition. You know what I'm saying? So they throwing their weight around with the politicians over here. They lobbying these politicians over here to create this legislation to eliminate the competition. And that's what this is really about. You know what I'm saying? So that's one theory that was out there that make you go, maybe that could be the case. You know what I'm saying? Talking about Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, these some deep pockets. These some deep pockets. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure they're able to influence that type of legislation, so they don't got to deal with that type of competition from a foreign entity. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I was taking into consideration. Now, the other thing is, and you know, we got to be careful when we talk about this on these platforms, but I found this angle to be even more interesting, and that is the APAC lobby. The APAC lobby had a big problem with TikTok. If y'all remember, even the ADL and other entities were putting out these stories about TikTok being a problem for the state of Israel, because a lot of people, young people mainly, and this is the thing. It's very important who controls the minds of the youth, who's able to influence the thought patterns and the worldview of the next generation that's coming up, because that's how you're able to control the future. That's how you're able to dictate, you know what I'm saying, how the world is going to be. You have to be able to control the minds of the next generation. You have to be able to bend reality at your will. You know what I'm saying? Particularly for the younger generations that are coming up. And so on TikTok, a lot of content creators were posting a lot of, I'll say, Palestine-friendly content. You know what I'm saying? Talking about the conflict happening over there in Middle East. There's a lot of people posting content, giving receipts about some of the things that's going on over there that wasn't making Israel look too good in the eyes of these young people who this is where they get their news from. This is where they get their information from. They spend most of their time on this platform. This is where all of their information comes from. They're not watching the mainstream news outlets and stuff like that. The traditional legacy media, you know, they've been lost their sway with society in general, but especially with the youth. They're not looking to the legacy media to get their cues and get their information to see what's really going on out here. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, the ADL and a lot of the APAC and a lot of Israel-friendly entities have been complaining about TikTok being a problem. They were saying that they were pointing out these weird statistics talking about I forgot the exact numbers, but they were saying, like, you know, every 30 minutes you spend on TikTok, you become 17% more anti-Semitic and all of this stuff. They was putting out some weird statistics and all of that stuff. So a lot of people were saying maybe APAC and their influence over the U.S. politics had a lot to do with getting this legislation, because the legislation went through so smooth, barely any resistance. You know what I'm saying? It went through the House and the Senate with barely any resistance. You know what I'm saying? Bipartisan support for this legislation to ban TikTok. And we all know, you know what I'm saying, you don't get that type of bipartisan support for anything really important. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of issues out here that people have been pushing for a long time that would really help people. You know what I'm saying? That would really help make society better. You know what I'm saying? And make life easier for, you know, everyday citizens, that they can't never seem to come together on. They never seem to get on the same page and push certain legislation through that's going to be, more beneficial for society. But they all get together and agree on this, though. You know what I'm saying? And so we know how, the AIPAC lobby is very influential on both sides. They're very influential on both sides. They fund a lot of these campaigns on both sides. You know what I'm saying? And so people are saying, the way that this thing went through, and looking at the complaints that AIPAC has been having and all that, they're like, oh, this sounds like they made this happen. You know what I'm saying? And so that was another interesting angle. I don't know. Maybe it was just about the money because, again, now they're saying it's back up. Trump is saying the U.S. is going to get 50%. What does that mean? The U.S. government is going to get 50%? Is it going to be a government-owned social media app now? Is it going to be owned by the U.S. government 50%? Who's going to get the 50%? I got to look more into that. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're saying. Said I be getting blocked all the time over there, especially my pro FBA content. Strikes on TikTok. They don't play over there. Biden threatened Meta to suppress content against the jab. Yeah, a lot of that was going on. Zuckerberg has been complaining about that as well. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why he's getting a lot of flack and a lot of negative press and stuff now too. Because like I said, he's been cozying up with the Trump administration, and the liberal media is really going on an attack against Zuckerberg, calling him a Nazi and all kind of stuff now. So, I don't know. It's real interesting. It's real interesting stuff, man. Real interesting stuff. But I don't know what Trump got up his sleeve, but I guess TikTok is back. And so we're going to have to see what that's all about, y'all. Y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay tuned for the updates on that. But speaking of Trump, tomorrow, in addition to it being, the official MLK holiday, is also going to be the inauguration, the Trump inauguration. And so over the past couple of days, over this weekend, he's been having different events and celebrations and all of that stuff, celebrating his inauguration, Trump getting reelected back into office. You know what I mean? And so he officially takes office tomorrow, gets sworn in and all of that tomorrow. And, he's talking about doing a lot of executive orders and stuff on day one. It's gonna be real interesting. But one thing that everybody is talking about right now is about Snoop Dogg, Nelly, Soulja Boy, Rick Ross. Who else? All of these people have been performing at these Trump inaugural events over the weekend, and a lot of the and a lot of backlash from a lot of these vote blue no matter who people. They're very upset with Snoop, Rick Ross, Nelly, Soulja Boy. Who else? I think those were the main guys that got out there and performed over the weekend for some of these Trump inauguration events. Am I missing anybody? I think those are the main people that everybody was really mad at. You know what I'm saying? And Snoop is like pretty much the main target for all of this. I think people don't really have too much expectations from a Soulja Boy. So with Soulja Boy, it's like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? People don't really hold him in too much high regard like that anyway. And so it's like, canceling a Soulja Boy. It's like, we didn't really care about Soulja Boy anyway. It was kind of, a novelty thing. He came and went. Ain't nobody really got that type of attachment to Soulja Boy. Nelly, yeah, a little more. People are a little upset with Nelly. And I seen some things. They got Nelly out here, kind of explaining about the backlash that he's getting. And Snoop, people are really mad at Snoop because remember Snoop before, when Trump got elected the first time, Snoop was very anti-Trump. Snoop was very anti-Trump, and he was very critical of people going to perform for Trump the first time that he got elected. Snoop was very outspoken and very critical of people wanting to go and meet with Trump and perform for Trump and all of that. He was dissing Kanye and like Cashapp Michelle and people like that, saying niggas was cooning and all of that at that time. And so now he's changed his tune. He went and performed at one of Trump's events, and he's getting some of the same backlash that he was putting out there for other people when Trump got elected the first time. And so people are pointing out the irony. You know, people are kind of trying to paint him as being a hypocrite. And they're very upset with Snoop. They're very upset with Snoop. Me personally, I ain't got a problem with it. I ain't got a problem with it. I really don't care, to be honest. I really don't care. You know, I'm not that invested into it like that. It doesn't make a difference one way or another. But I do got a problem with the backlash, though. I do got a problem with all this backlash, because that's phony and hypocritical and coonish. The so-called backlash that Snoop and them are getting, that is very coonish. All y'all niggas, because the people that he's getting the backlash from, the people that him and Nelly and them are getting the backlash from, these are the same people was going hard body for Biden and Kamala. And they trying to reframe everything. You know, they're trying to reframe cool. If you go with the Republicans at all, Trump or anything at all like that, they trying to put the tap dance shoes on you and act like they ain't not tap dancing over there in the Democratic plantation. And I'm like, no. Y'all don't get to do that. Y'all don't get to do that. What's the difference between Biden and Trump? Biden is worse than Trump. If you want to talk about anti-blackness and how you going to be associated with a racist and all of that, Biden is way worse than Trump. So what y'all talking about? Let me share some of this with y'all, with some of the stuff that's been going on with this. Let me share some of this with y'all. Hold up. Yeah, what's this? Oh, Nike just sent me a story. Bitter Harris voters spread false narrative. Black Americans are not mad at Snoop and Nelly performing during 2025 inauguration. And we ain't. We ain't. We are not mad. We are not mad at all. Y'all can try to spin it and frame it. And no, we ain't mad. We don't give a damn. Snoop, go get that bag. Nelly, go get that bag. Y'all wasn't saying that when they had Megan Thee Stallion out here popping coochie for Kamala. And the thing about it is, they was doing all of that on the campaign trail. They had all of these buck dancing celebrities going out there telling us who we need to vote for. Telling us we got to get on board with this Democratic plantation and we better support this black woman, quote unquote, and all of this stuff. Trump is already elected. Snoop and Nelly and them ain't out here campaigning for Trump. You know what I'm saying? They're doing their job. They get paid to entertain. They're entertainers. You know what I'm saying? It's a gig. It's another gig that they got booked for. They supposed to turn it down because it's Trump? No. This is what they do for a living. Go get your money. They want to see you perform. They're going to pay. Go get your money. We ain't mad. This is not the same thing. Nelly and Snoop and them ain't out here telling us we got to support Trump. They're not out here singing the praises of Trump. Snoop Dogg went and performed Bitches Ain't Shit But Hoes and Tricks. That's what he does. You know what I'm saying? And it's no different than back in the days. James Brown got a lot of backlash and a lot of flack when he performed for Richard Nixon's, I think it was his inauguration. How many of y'all know about that? Back in the days, I think it was Richard Nixon's inauguration when he got elected. James Brown was actually campaigning for his opponent. I forgot the guy's name that he was running against in the election. But from what I remember, James Brown was actually campaigning for Nixon's opponent. But after Nixon won, James Brown performed at the inauguration, and he performed "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud," by the way. Rick James went to the inauguration and performed "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." It was only a handful of Negroes sprinkled in the crowd, but he had white folks in the crowd saying loud, "I'm Black and I'm proud." But he was getting criticized back then the same way that they're trying to do Snoop and them now. They was mad at James Brown back then, and James Brown was like, "Yo, he's the president." You know what I'm saying? I got to give him the opportunity to be able to bring people together. You know what I'm saying? We got to be able to work with people whether we like them or not. This is the guy that's going to be in office the next 4 years. This is the guy that's going to be calling the shots. We got to have some kind of relationship, working relationship, dialogue with people who's in power, right? So why not? That's what James Brown was saying, and really, that's the same thing that Nelly and Snoop and them is saying now. Well, Snoop, did Snoop say anything? I didn't see if Snoop actually responded to the backlash yet. But I seen Nelly. Nelly was on Willie D's show, and let me play some of that. Well, first, let me play Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy, I think he just went live on Instagram or whatever. And this is off of this chick, Candace Matthews' page. She's that lady down there in Texas that always got the big cowboy hat on. And she's one of these people who's upset with Snoop and Soulja Boy and everybody. All her videos, she posting Coon Alert, talking about Snoop and Nelly and Soulja Boy and them. She talking about Coon Alert. This is off of her page. So again, the irony. But this is what Soulja Boy was saying.
They pay me a bad. Obama ain't never put no money in my pockets, nigga. Kamala ain't never put no money in my pockets, nigga. Trump put money in my pockets, nigga. When are trying to say something about me performing at the crypto ball party, did Kamala call my fucking phone? Did Obama call my motherfucking phone? Did any of you call my motherfucking phone? Oh, God. Fuck you, man. I do what the fuck I want. Trump call my phone. It wasn't even a Trump event. Trump wasn't even there. Y'all so worried about he performed, him, Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross. Kamala, you ain't even win. Obama, you ain't called my fucking phone. I'll suck my dick, nigga. Y'all want me to not answer the phone of the fucking president? Get the president of the mother United States. Trump wasn't even there.
And so that's Soulja Boy. You know what I'm saying? But again, a lot of people don't really take Soulja Boy too serious. Soulja Boy is kind of like a caricature to a certain degree. A lot of people don't really take Soulja Boy too serious anyway. So it's like Soulja Boy, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I feel him. You know what I'm saying? He ranting and, doing what he do. But, I mean, he kind of got a point. I'm not supposed to take the call from the president and go get this bag? Why I'm not supposed to do that? What's the problem? Why I'm not supposed to do that? And he said, y'all didn't call me. Kamala and Obama and them, y'all didn't call me to come perform. So he probably would have performed for them too. If that was the case, right? But the thing is, Trump already won. These niggas is not out here campaigning for Trump. Trump don't need their endorsement or anything like that. He's not trying to win black people over by having these people perform. Who else is going to perform, nigga? Of course, it's going to be us. You know what I'm saying? We are the culture. We are the culture. We the ones that everybody really want to see, including the white evangelical right-wing white supremacists. They like hip-hop too. You know what I'm saying? So, of course. It's just a celebration at this point. This is not some endorsement, you know, trying to sway black people to one party or the other. That's not what's going on here. Can't say the same thing about what Kamala was doing. What Kamala was doing, she bringing all these black celebrities out there, straight pandering to the black community. This was a way to avoid having to talk about real issues, avoid from having to address real issues in the black community and making any campaign promises to the black community. This was some real insulting stuff that she was out here doing with Meg Thee Stallion and Glorilla and Beyonce and Eminem and everybody. That was supposed to convince us to go to the polls and vote for her ass. That's what that was about. It wasn't just no show. This is just a show. This was just a show. Trump already won. So what's the problem? I don't understand what the problem is. And so Nelly was on Willie D's show. Shout out to Willie D. Willie D had Nelly on there. And there was a couple clips here. Let me play this one. Hold on. This is some of what Nelly was saying about the backlash over there on Willie D's show.
But I am honored to be performing for the office, for the president of the United States, regardless. Ain't nan another president asked me to perform. Nan. Ain't nobody called Nelly. Ain't no, I would have performed. Well,
ain't nobody. Nobody.
And he said he would have performed. Like I said, Soulja Boy said the same thing. Kamala ain't called me. He's saying it like I would have performed for y'all too. Nelly said it. He said, ain't there another president called me to perform? I would have did it. I would have did it. So this ain't about, like I said, these guys are not choosing sides and trying to manipulate black people to go one way or the other. That's not what's going on here. They just doing their job as entertainers. You know what I'm saying? So hold on.
Nobody ever asked you to come to a Klan rally either.
Now, I didn't understand that, Willie D. I didn't understand that. That was a weird reach. Well, I'm not getting the correlation there. Nelly said, ain't no president ever called me to perform before, but Trump did. And so here I am. Yeah, I came. I came and performed at the Trump joint because they called me to do it. Ain't no other president ever called me to do it. That's the only reason why you haven't seen me performing at any of their joints, because I never got that call. And Willie D responds with, ain't nobody never called you to perform at a Klan meeting. Like, what? Where'd that come from? What is that supposed to even mean? What's that supposed to even mean? I don't know where Willie D was going with that question. What? Ain't there other president never called me to perform? That's why y'all ain't never seen me at none of their stuff. But Trump called me to perform, and that's why y'all seen me perform for Trump the other night. Yeah, but the Klan ain't never called you to come perform at one of their meetings, huh? I'm not connecting the dots here, Willie D. Yeah, I'm not connecting the dots. Now I understand, sometimes you don't want to do just a softball interview when you got people on, you know what I'm saying? You want to do some type of due diligence as a journalist and give pushback to what people are saying, you know what I'm saying? But that was kind of weird right there. Ain't nobody never called you to perform at a Klan rally, huh? What the? I'm confused.
But, what you mean? Why would I go to a Klan rally? I don't live in a Klan country.
Well,
no, I don't agree with that, Nelly. I don't necessarily agree with that one, though, Nelly.
Well, this is a Klan country.
No, this ain't no Klan.
No, this is a Klan country, man.
Where is it?
This is a Klan country.
Where it is? But I am honored.
So yeah, and there was another clip. There was another clip here from the Willie D joint with Nelly. Hold on, let me find that other one. And people are still upset. They saying Nelly should have just shut up, like he made it worse or something. I'm like, I don't understand. I don't see what the problem is, to be honest. If he didn't invite black people, the liberal media would have had a problem with that too. Big facts, nothing but a G thing. Big facts, nothing but a G thing. If Trump would have had all of these inaugural celebrations and only invited white artists to come perform, these same people who's upset with Snoop and them would have been mad about that too. The Roland Martins and all these people would have been mad about that too. Look, see, told you he's a racist. He ain't even called nobody black to come perform. See, all you B1 people out here, see, this what you get. This what you get. That's what they would have been saying. That's big facts, nothing but a G thing. Say, yeah, Willie be on one sometimes. I can't watch his podcast. Shout out to Peter Ogun in the building. It's my brother Peter Ogun. Willie D was trolling a little bit. The KKK endorsed Trump for president last time. Yeah, skinheads have said Trump is their guy. So, I mean, yeah, he is their guy. He is their guy. If anybody's going to be their guy. But look, this is the thing. Because that's what the Democrats try to do. That's what the liberals try to do. They try to narrow white supremacy down to the skinheads. The only time they talk about white supremacy is if they're pointing to a Klansman or a skinhead, somebody with a swastika or something like that. They got to be a frothing at the mouth racist, a whole caricature of a racist. Somebody that you damn near don't even find in real life. That's what they frame racism as. If it ain't that, then it ain't racist. And that's just not the case. That's just not the case. So yeah, the skinheads might say Trump is their guy, but that don't take away from the white supremacy of the Biden administration either, which is worse. It's worse. We got 50 years that we could look back on of anti-black racism from Biden's ass, talking about actual policies and all of that. Not just no rhetoric, not just no talking and all that. You know what I'm saying? Talking about actual policies. You know what I'm saying? And I think Nelly touched on some of that in this clip right here. I think this the one.
I thought you was riding with me because I put on for my city and I try to bring my city up every step of the way. I did not know you was riding with me because you thought I would ride for who you voted for. I didn't know that. I apologize. I apologize. I didn't know that I had to agree with your political choices. And I thought it was the things that you do, not the things that you say should be done. If you follow what I do, this shouldn't even be an argument. He's the president. He won. This isn't a campaign. This isn't an RNC.
Right.
I'm not out on the political campaign. I didn't get none of that 1.5.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like to try to help somebody get voted.
Right. That ain't what this is. The man already won. The man already won. Y'all can't have it both ways.
Kamala didn't invite you to
No. She didn't invite me.
She didn't invite me either, man. I was gonna do bald-headed hoes.
Willie D said I was gonna do bald-headed hoes. Willie D said she ain't invite me either. I was gonna do bald-headed hoes.
Like so, but I don't knock the one. I thought you was riding with me because
that ain't the one. That ain't the one. There was another clip where Nelly was talking about all of Biden's racism and shit. You know, he kept it a bean. And again, this is Candace Matthews' page. She said, look, just don't say nothing else. Go enjoy your family because we as a black community is not feeling the coon activities y'all did. Total disrespect to our culture. Malcolm X said it best. These aren't our leaders. They not out here purporting to be our leaders. That's the difference between what Nelly and Snoop and them did as opposed to what we see the people who was performing for Kamala and them. Those are the people that they was trying to tell us as our leaders, Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B. You know what I'm saying? That's why they were trying to legitimize them and have people like Tamika Mallory with Cardi B writing the foreword to her book and all that. You're supposed to be writing a serious book about, you know, justice and the black plight and all of that, and you get Cardi B to do the foreword in order to credentialize her and legitimize her so people can associate her with some type of social justice activism. So when you caught her out, she's supposed to be taken seriously. That's not what Nelly and them is doing. That ain't the same thing. Trump knew what he was doing when he gave that symbolic black fist pump after the assassination attempt. I don't know what you mean by that, but okay. I pointed to those groups because you couldn't understand what Willie said, but yeah, Biden is horrible too. Yeah, I didn't understand what Willie was saying. I didn't understand what Willie was saying. I just felt like he was trying to reach for some type of pushback because Willie D, you know, I don't think he's upset with Nelly. I think he kind of agrees with what Nelly is saying, but just as a person doing the interview, you know, you don't want to just do a completely softball interview. You want to give some type of pushback. So I just felt like he was reaching for some type of pushback, and he just came with anything, and it didn't really make no sense to me. That's what I thought anyway. I didn't watch the full interview. That's just what I got from the clips. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, these people love to try to throw Malcolm X out there. How y'all on some vote blue no matter who, and y'all trying to act like y'all talking like Malcolm X. Huh? Malcolm X wasn't on that. Malcolm X warned you about them liberals. Malcolm X warned you about them liberals. And he wasn't co-signing the Republicans either. Malcolm X was saying what we saying. Two wings on the same bird. Malcolm X was saying what we saying. Malcolm X wasn't no vote blue no matter who, nigga. Malcolm X was black first, period. Y'all be trying to lift up Malcolm X and Martin and these guys like y'all on the same shit they was on. Y'all not. Y'all not, because I seen another one where they were saying, oh, Nelly and them is the type of people Harriet Tubman would have shot. Like, come on, man. Like this guy right here. Oh, I'm gonna play that one in a minute. I'm looking for that other Nelly clip. I thought I saved it in here. I guess I didn't save that other Nelly one. I want to play the other Nelly clip where he was talking about all of Biden's racism, because they trying to tell him how racist Trump is. And look, he not caping for Trump. He not saying Trump is a good guy and he ain't racist or whatever. He just saying, we're gonna talk about racism. I could tell you some of the things Biden did over the years. And he started running down the list. But I don't see that clip here. But let me play from this guy. And this is one of the guys that they be having out here now. One of these vote blue no matter who niggas that they come having out here now. I forgot his name. What's his name? Keith Boykin, I think that's his name, Keith Boykin. Y'all know this moist nigga when y'all see him. Shout out to Rashad McQueen in the building. Biden and Trump, same white supremacist party. Facts. Shout out to Mark W. I pointed to those groups. Oh, you already read that. Child of Yahuwah. Tether ops be in these spaces confusing our politics. And they do. Especially when it comes to this hip-hop thing, too. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in a minute. But let me play this clip right here. This is the game that they try to run. This is what I mean, where they try to put all the racism on Trump. The only time these people acknowledge anti-black racism is when they could put it on Trump and the Republicans. They act like the Democrats are just pro-black. The Democrats is pro-black. We just don't know it.
It's honor to the black community. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Donald Trump, the man.
Fair use, by the way, fair use. This is a clip from CNN. This is fair use. We just doing commentary here today, YouTube.
Who would refuse to rent to black people in the 1970s, who tried to lead a lynch mob against 5 black and brown kids in the 1980s for the century.
And look, again, I don't put the cape on for Trump. Yeah, he did do that bullshit in the 1970s where he was discriminating against black people from renting in his building and all that. He did. That's a fact. Don't got the cape on for none of that. Yeah, he took out an ad in the paper, with that whole Central Park 5 thing and all of that. But it was the liberals who was railroading them kids through the damn injustice system. All right, it was a Democratic prosecutor who was doing that. Trump wasn't in office. You know, Trump was a private citizen. He had some paper, so he took out an ad in the paper or whatever the case may be. Yeah, he did that. But it wasn't worse. And as a matter of fact, Trump was a Democrat at the time. Trump was a Democrat at the time. That's when he was running around with the Clintons and all of that. But it was the liberal media. It was the Democratic prosecutor that was demonizing these kids and railroading them through the system. That's who did that to the Central Park 5. They want to just try to put that whole thing on Trump. No, that's rewriting the history. And the real sad part about that is you got the Central Park 5 out here echoing that lie. You got niggas from the Central Park 5, what they call them, the exonerated 5 now. You got niggas out here, them niggas out here running around echoing these Democratic talking points as if it wasn't the fucking Democrats that put their ass behind bars in the first place. That's the real sad part.
Central Park case, who refused to allow Black casino workers to have a prominent place in his casinos in Atlantic City in the 1990s, who spent 5.5 years lying about Barack Obama's birth certificate in the 2000s, who came into office and then attacked Black people like Colin Kaepernick, who attacked Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss for simply doing their jobs as Fulton County election workers. You dishonor the.
And so you could run down all of these things line by line of what you say Trump did that proves that he's an anti-Black racist. And hey, yeah, he did a lot of those things. He did do a lot of those things, and he probably don't give a damn about Black people like that. I'm not here to defend him, but you act like you don't see nothing. You can't run down the list of all the stuff Biden did. Why you can't run that list down? Because you out here telling us we need to vote for Biden and them. This guy. You see his content all over social media and all of that, telling us how we need to vote blue no matter who. But you can't run down none of the racist shit that they did over the last 50, 60 years that we've been voting for their ass. But you can run down all of this Trump stuff, though.
Those people, when you go and perform for this man who has done nothing but dishonor Black people. And just last year, he was calling Haitian immigrants, accusing them of eating cats and dogs. This
Haitians, y'all gonna have to defend that one on your own. Y'all gonna have to defend that one on your own. That ain't none of FBA business.
This is not somebody that Black people should be associated with and pretending to normalize. We should be challenging him. And it dishonors the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday we honor on Monday to celebrate this man.
Oh my goodness. That's what I mean. They always want to try to hold up Malcolm and Martin as if y'all on the same type of time they was on. Y'all are not on that type of time. Malcolm and Martin, those are our goddamn heroes. Y'all are a bunch of damn weirdos. Y'all ain't nobody's heroes. Y'all are a bunch of damn weirdos. I heard pushing all of these weird agendas on children and stuff. Martin wasn't with that. If the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was here today, he wouldn't be with none of that stuff y'all pushing. Miss me with that, man. Miss me with that. But did Snoop say anything? I haven't heard anything from Snoop about all the backlash. Has Snoop come out and said anything about all this? And I don't know why people are surprised at Snoop, because first of all, Snoop, we see Snoop everywhere, y'all. Snoop is the most famous rapper in the world, and Snoop literally pops up any and everywhere, and he never looks out of place. It doesn't matter. Snoop is in all different type of arenas, endorsing all different type of products. Snoop is everywhere. Snoop is a marketing media magnet. You know what I'm saying? So seeing Snoop, that's not surprising at all. And the other thing about it is this. Snoop wasn't feeling Trump the first go round. Snoop was one of these people out here criticizing Trump real heavy, and he was criticizing people for performing at Trump's first inauguration or whatever, any events that Trump was having before. Snoop was very critical of people. And so for that, I feel like Snoop does have some splaining to do. Snoop does need to explain himself about why he changed his stance. Because, you know, these videos are out there of him going hard on people. You know what I'm saying? For associating themselves with Trump. These videos are out there. So he kind of owes it to himself, to his fans, and just, you know what I'm saying, to put it out there of what made him shift his stance when it comes to Donald Trump. And to me, it's a very reasonable, logical explanation when you really look at it. Remember, Donald Trump pardoned Harry O. Donald Trump gave clemency to Harry O, who is now partners with Snoop and Death Row. Harry O is the original founder of Death Row Records. When it was Godfather Entertainment or something like that, before it was Death Row, what was it called? I forgot. The predecessor to Death Row Records, I think it was Godfather Entertainment or something like that. Harry O was the original founder before Suge Knight kind of finessed his way into that whole thing. Harry O was the original founder of that whole thing. Harry O got locked up on some drug charges. He's been locked up for a long time. I forgot how long he was gone. He was away or whatever. But he still had like almost a decade left on his sentence. When Donald Trump was leaving office, he granted him clemency. And then after he granted him clemency, since he's been home, he's been doing some activist work. And he was been in communication with Donald Trump and the Republicans, really both sides. He was putting forth some of his ideas to the Republicans and the Democrats about things that they can do to help better the community where he comes from. And he was getting traction on the Republican side, where he's really getting no traction on the Democratic side. And so he came out and endorsed Trump during this campaign trail, in this election season. Harry O was endorsing Trump. Snoop recently just got back ownership, or just got ownership of Death Row Records and the whole catalog of Death Row and all of that. He's in control of the brand, the publishing, the intellectual property, all the stuff that's associated with Death Row. Snoop owns it now, and he brought Harry O back into the fold. And so why wouldn't he, you know, shift? Because Snoop really didn't endorse Trump like that. I don't think Snoop came out and endorsed Trump, but why wouldn't he shift his stance against Trump when he did something like that for his man, Harry O, somebody who he's out here doing big business with now, somebody who's a big part of his legacy. The Democrats didn't do that. Obama didn't do that. Biden didn't do that. Trump did that. And so again, that's not something that, you know, is beneficial to the masses of Black people, but I can understand Snoop as an individual saying, well, shit, he ain't that bad. Trump all right with me. I can see Snoop saying that. I ain't mad at Snoop at all for saying that. It makes sense. But I do think that Snoop does need to explain that himself, though. Snoop needs to use his platform to kind of explain that to people, because it makes sense. It makes sense. But only reason why I'm saying he needs to do that, just to, you know, to not allow people to use his words against him with some of those old videos and all of that. Just come and clear it up. Just come out and clear it up, because you ain't do nothing wrong by performing, even if it wasn't the whole scenario with, you know, him granting clemency for Harry O and all that. Even if that wasn't the case, you still got the right to change your mind. And, you know, again, you're not out here endorsing Trump and trying to sway black society to get on board with Trump. You just showed up to do a performance at Snoop Dogg. Ain't that right? Nothing but a G thing. Biden's 88 crack laws with Strom Thurmond. Biden joined Hillary's super predators narrative. Yeah. Biden got a long history of anti-black racism. And he was against busing and all of that. His mentor was his name, Rob Byrd, the KKK dude, talking about Klansmen. You don't want to talk about Klansmen and skinheads and all of that. Who the hell was Biden's mentor that he eulogized his funeral and all of that? A straight up Klansman. Yeah, so what we talking about? But anyway, let's get into the main topic for what we're talking about today. Let's get into the main topic of what we came here to talk about today, and that is correcting the narrative around the origin story of hip hop. A lot of people are now joining the conversation. We've been having this conversation for a few years now. A lot of us have been having this conversation and trying to straighten out the history about where hip hop actually comes from and all of that. And the conversation hasn't quieted down. The conversation keeps growing and growing, and so more people are joining the conversation. It's a lot of these people who are just now coming into the conversation. I feel like they're not talking about this thing in the right way. Right. Chrisette Michele got hard backlash for what she did. Yeah, Chrisette Michele, that basically cost her career. When Chrisette Michele performed at Trump's first inauguration, she was canceled. She never really recovered from that. Her career never really recovered. Not that she was, big multi-platinum artist in the first place, but she never really recovered from that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all think y'all gonna do that to Snoop? Please. That's what y'all think y'all about to do the same thing y'all did to Chrisette Michele with Snoop? Please. That ain't about to happen. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of people are now entering the chat on this hip hop origin story conversation. And I feel like everybody's getting it wrong, man. A lot of people are talking about this thing in the wrong way. And when I say everybody, obviously that doesn't mean everybody. Shout out to Dwan B, who does a phenomenal job of correcting the narrative. Y'all make sure that y'all tune into my brother Dwan B if you're not already subscribed to Dwan B's channel. Dwan B on YouTube. Y'all need to be subscribed to that channel. Our brother is a real library of information, especially when it comes to music history, foundational Black American music history in particular, but global music history. The man is a wealth of knowledge. And he's been doing a phenomenal job of, correcting the narrative. Obviously Tariq Nasheed did the movie Microphone Check. Excellent film about the real origins of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Lord Jamar has been out here beating the drum steadily, correcting the narrative. And many others. Shout out to the brother Truth Savior on YouTube. Another brother does a phenomenal job meticulously breaking down these bad faith talking points and debunking all of these false narratives. Truth Savior on YouTube. Phenomenal work he does. I think it's Wayne TV on YouTube who's been doing this for a very long time. Before the conversation really cranked up like that, I think before Busta Rhymes came out and said what he said, before any of that, these guys were already going into the Bronx, talking to some of the OGs who are still living, y'all. A lot of the founders, and we're gonna get into what I'm talking about here as far as the framing of this conversation. But a lot of people who were there in what we refer to as the inception in the early 70s, late 60s, South Bronx, a lot of people who were there who kind of got written out of the history of hip hop, who people never talk about, who are never shown in any of these documentaries. They're never talked about in the books, really. And you know, anytime they highlight the origins of hip hop in the media and all of that, a lot of people who are still living actually go unsung and overlooked. But the guys from Wayne TV, he's been for years now talking to these guys out there in the Bronx about what really happened back then and who was involved with what. And it wasn't really at, you know, I guess when he first started doing the videos, it wasn't about the question of whether it was foundational Black Americans and Puerto Ricans 50-50, or was it just foundational Black Americans? Like, that wasn't even part of the conversation yet. That wasn't even the intentions of what he was doing. It was really just breaking down some of the mythological stuff that was being told about the three founding fathers of Kool Herc, Afrika Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, and Kool Herc's party, and who was really there and who wasn't really there, and what crew did what. That's what really Wayne TV was going out there trying to unpack and discover and get the narrative correct on. And through the conversations that were being had on that channel, a lot of the proof of what we're saying has been documented. So shout out to Wayne TV for the phenomenal work that they've been doing. And I hope that's what it's called, Wayne TV. I keep saying it over and over. I hope I got that right. Shit. Do y'all know the channel I'm talking about, by the way? I think it's called Wayne TV. I hope that's what it's called, because I keep on saying it. Wayne TV. I want to make sure I'm talking about the right channel. And no, I'm not talking about the right channel. It's not called Wayne TV. What's the name of that channel, y'all? Somebody on here know what channel I'm talking about. He's been interviewing DJ Faze and Charlie Rock and all of these guys for years. It's not Wayne TV. I thought it was Wayne TV. What's the name of that channel? Damn, I got it wrong, y'all. And I know I'm subscribed to it. Damn. Hold on. I want to get the name of that channel right. The Culture since 1971. That sounds familiar too. Is this the channel? That is the channel, but why am I saying Wayne TV? Is the guy's name Wayne or something? Underground hip hop history. The culture now called hip hop began as a youth rebellion against racism and segregation in the Bronx, New York. The Black Spades, led by the teenage late. Okay, this is the channel that I'm talking about. I don't know why I was saying Wayne TV. I think that might be the guy's name, and maybe that's what he says on the videos or something like that. But the channel is called The Culture, starts in 1971. Shout out to Son from Brooklyn for helping me out with that. Shout out to Son. Michael Wayans is his name. That's why I'm saying Wayne TV. Okay, so the guy that runs that channel, thank you, Son from Brooklyn. I knew somebody on here would be able to help me out. That's why I love exchanging energy with you all. That's why I love exchanging energy with you all. And Solo Dolo had it right too. So yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. The channel is called The Culture, starts in 1971, and the brother's name is Michael Wayne. So that's why I thought it was Wayne TV for some reason. But he's been documenting a lot of the proof that debunks the lies, because there's lies and then there's myth. There's a difference between a lie and a myth. Like let's understand that. There's a difference between a lie and a myth. So the lie that's being told is that basically hip hop was started by Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans. That's the lie that they're trying to tell. They're trying to take foundational Black Americans out of it, period. We was just here doing nothing. We ain't have no culture until they showed up and showed us how to rock. It all started in the Bronx in 1973. DJ Kool Herc had a party and boom, hip hop was born, and Jamaica brought it over here, and the Puerto Rican b-boys got down on the ground, and I guess we got it from them. That's the lie that they out here telling. That's the lie. And the myth, which is a little different than a lie now, the myth, and this is the way that the conversation is framed by too many people, even when they're on the truth side of the story. So there are people out here who's pushing back against that lie, saying, hell no, Puerto Ricans ain't have nothing to do with this origin story. It was black people. It was a couple Puerto Ricans that got down with us later on. It's people out here pushing back against the lie, saying that that's not true. It was black people, but they're still framing it around this mythical, logical story that hip hop was created in the Bronx out of nowhere. It just came out of the rubble of the burning buildings in the Bronx in the early 70s, and the kids that was out there made up this brand new thing. And that's the myth that's being told. That's how too many people are framing the conversation, which allows for the narrative to remain muddy. When you frame it that way, it allows for people to still continue with the lies and trying to co-opt the culture and trying to latch themselves onto it and insert themselves into the origin story, because there was a Puerto Rican here and there was a Jamaican there in the Bronx at the time who did such and such, or who was at this party and who took this picture or that picture. When you frame the conversation around this mythological creation story that happened in the Bronx, and if you're not from the Bronx, you don't know about it and you can't talk about it. Only if you're from the Bronx and you're old enough to remember that era are you qualified to speak on the origins of hip hop. That's how too many people are framing the conversation, even when they're debunking the lies about Puerto Ricans being co-creators 50-50. And so that's the thing that I want to try to help clear up. Shout out to my brother Black Voltron Reloaded in the building. And thank you for posting that link. He posted the link to the Michael Wayne's YouTube channel, The Culture Since 1971. Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, if you can, for people that don't know, post my brother Dwan B's link in the chat. I want to give props to the people who are doing this the right way. And I'm sure most people here are already in tune with all of these channels that I'm talking about. But for those that may not know, post my brother Dwan B's link in the chat if you could. Post Truth Savior's link in the chat if you could. And post Lord Jamar's link in the chat. These are just some of the people. I'm not saying they're the only people. These are just some of the people that I feel are absolutely getting it right and who I've even been able to learn a lot from. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like it's beneficial to signal boost what they're doing. I feel like it would be beneficial for everybody to get in tune with the correct narrative and to signal boost it in order to stop the colonization and save our culture from being co-opted. Our cultural creation, like what has been done with so many of our other cultural creations. All right. From bluegrass to country music to jazz to all of it. And this is the thing. They had to change the name because Michael Wayne, Fat Mike RIP, family had issues with the name. Okay, so all right. There was a reason why I was saying Wayne TV. There was a reason why I was saying that. I thought I was tripping, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely getting ridiculous out here. And so when we talk about the origins of hip hop, and when we say hip hop is an extension of foundational Black American culture. We are talking about a culture, not just a music genre. And a lot of times when I hear these conversations, it's only about a music genre. Sometimes it's only about rap. It's only about the rappers. And then sometimes they'll talk about the other elements, the DJs and the break dancers. And the break dancers, they narrow it down to just break dancing, when break dancing was only the style of dance of the day in the early 70s. But it's not, breakdancing is not an element of hip hop culture. Dancing, street dancing is an element of hip hop culture. And we make up new street dances all the time. We've been past breakdancing. But they try to narrow it down just to breakdancing so that the Puerto Ricans can have a place in it. That's what that's about. But when we talk about this, we're not just talking about a music genre. And we're not just talking about a series of events that took place in the early 70s in the Bronx. We're talking about a culture. And so what is culture? Let's look at the definition. What is culture, ladies and gentlemen? Basic definition of culture. A culture is the customs, the arts, the social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social groups. So a culture is the customs, the arts, the social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social groups. So rap music is an art form that's part of hip hop culture. DJing is an art form that's not only a part of hip hop culture, right? Same thing with rap. Let me get all of this right. So let me say it like this: rapping is an art form that was adopted into the culture of hip hop. DJing is an art form that was adopted into the culture of hip hop, right? Street dancing is an art form that was adopted into the culture of hip hop. And graffiti was kind of thrown in there by Bambaataa, to be honest. Graffiti was thrown in there by Bambaataa. Graffiti artists weren't necessarily a part of the hip hop movement at the time. Graffiti art was something that was taking place really in the punk rock scene and different parts of like Lower Manhattan and stuff like that, where Bam was branching off. Bam, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't just confined in the Bronx. Bam was dipping off into some of these other cultures and all of that. And he brought the graffiti artists around to the jams and stuff like that. And they started to help with the flyers and things like that. And so we could say same thing. That street art, graffiti, was adopted into the culture of hip hop. But all of these art forms already existed prior to the hip hop movement taking place. All of these art forms, none of these art forms were anything new. Nobody that's associated with the mythological origin story of hip hop created anything new. Nothing new happened. Hip hop is a culture of sampling. Sampling is the main ingredient of hip hop culture. Nothing was ever created brand new that became a part of hip hop culture. Everything was borrowed from somewhere else. We don't just sample loops and beats and shit. We sampled everything that was already in existence and repurposed it for the purpose that it was needed for at the time. Everything, all of the elements, all of the art forms, everything that went into it, from the language to the style, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, our mannerisms and all of that stuff, that's just in us. That's just in us. It was already there prior to. We didn't create a new posture. You know what I'm saying? The posture that people associate with hip hop culture, you know what I'm saying? Just the way that I am, the way that I carry myself, the way that I speak and all of that, the way that I move and all of that is associated with hip hop culture. But nigga, my great grandfather and them had the same posture. They had the same mannerisms. They had the same cool about themselves. They had the same swag about themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's just different slang that changes and evolves and gets, you know what I'm saying? And it's different from city to city and region to region also. The swag and the bounce and the bop is a little bit different from region to region. You know what I'm saying? A New Orleans nigga got a different bop than a New York nigga. You know what I'm saying? A Memphis nigga got a different kind of posture about himself than an Oakland nigga. It's a little different. But it's all swaggy. It's all something that we associate with hip hop now, because this is the terminology or the nomenclature that has been in the lexicon for the past 50 years or so now, right? And so for most of us, we in our 40s, we in our 30s. You know, you got people like Mel and these guys who they're in their 60s. You know, most of the people are like under 70 years old. You know what I'm saying? And so this has been, you know, normalized for the most part of our lives, if not all of our lives. And so that's what we associated with. But it already existed prior to us being born, before Melly Mel was born, before Charlie Rock was born, before Kool Herc was born, Disco King Mario was born. Niggas already had the same kind of swag. You know what I'm saying? Niggas already had the same kind of energy, because that's what it is. The culture, hip hop culture, it's an essence, it's an energy. Right? And so this is what I'm saying. By nothing was born in the Bronx. They talk about, if you're not from the Bronx, you don't know what you're talking about. But the niggas that are framing this into a Bronx conversation, and it gets broken down even further, because you got niggas who say you got to be from a certain part of the Bronx to even know what you're talking about. You got to be a certain age. You got to be from a specific block. But it's like, no. Y'all framing this conversation all wrong, because we're talking about an energy that already existed. And the question is, where does that energy come from? Because hip hop has roots. Hip hop is not some brand new thing that was created in the Bronx in the 1970s that never existed before. It has roots that can be traced back. And when we trace it back, this is the question that we're having. This is what the conversation is about. When we trace it back, does it go back to Puerto Rico? Any part of it? Any part of what we associate with hip hop culture? Whether we're talking about the music, whether we're talking about the fashion, whether we're talking about the lingo, any of it. Can we trace it back to Puerto Rico? Can we trace it back to Jamaica? Or can we trace it back to the South? Can we trace it back to foundational Black American culture? That's the question. That's what this whole conversation is really supposed to be about. It's not about what happened in the Bronx and who was there and who wasn't there. That's a part of what gave birth to this movement. I'm not trying to downplay what happened in the Bronx and make it seem like that was insignificant. No, it absolutely is significant, because what happened in the Bronx is what gave birth, is what industrialized this fusion of our different art forms. Our different art forms fused together under one umbrella to create this movement that became an industrialized product that has been exploited by the music industry and by the fashion industry and by many other industries, if we're going to be honest. Just the corporate industry overall, it has become a carcass for the vultures to feed off of. So if we're going to talk about what happened in the Bronx, we're really not talking about a birth. We're really talking about the beginnings of a death. That's what we're really talking about. Because after everything amalgamated in the Bronx and became what we now know as hip hop, is when it became a feast for the vultures to feed off of. And it has been dying ever since. So what took place, the Bronx is the birthplace of the cancer that has infected the body of the culture. Let's be honest. That's what happened. That's what happened. Because, again, all of these things already existed prior. What happened in the Bronx was it all came under one umbrella and a movement began. And then you got different labels placed on it, and you got different characters that they were able to hold up as being founders and creators and all of these different things. These, you know, it's like what they do with these biblical figures. You know what I'm saying? You create a religion out of it. You uplift these characters and you make them deities to a certain degree, to a certain extent. You make them deities and you build this mythological story around it. And now it can be institutionalized and industrialized, and the powers that be are able to suck the blood from it. They're able to turn it into an industry. So it's a cancer. Just like you see there's a whole entire industry around cancer. Right? So they're not trying to find a cure to get rid of cancer, because it's a booming industry that they built around it. So it's not beneficial for them to introduce something that will just obliterate it and nip it in the bud. They got to keep it going. Right? And so when we were on our own trajectory, when hip hop was on its own course without being really too manipulated from outside forces, look at where it was headed. Because it was born on a resistance frequency. And so that's exactly where it was headed. It was headed towards justice. It was headed towards upliftment and empowerment when it was on its own trajectory. You know what I'm saying? But when the powers that be were allowed to put their talents into it and redirect it, that's when they allowed the cancer to grow. That's when they made the cancer start to spread. You know what I'm saying? And they built their industries around it to enrich themselves and make themselves generational multi-billionaires. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, the framing of the conversation has been all wrong. And so we talk about what it is. We talk about what a culture was, right? We talk about what a culture was. So now another question, just to address the 50-50 thing still, because that's something that we still have to contend with debunking, because people still lying. So the next question would be, what is a cultural exchange? Because that's their claim. When they say we're co-creators and it was Blacks and Puerto Ricans 50-50, really, like I said, they're trying to say it was Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans 50-50 and take us out of it altogether. But if they say it was Blacks and Puerto Ricans 50-50, then what they're saying is it was a cultural exchange. So what is a cultural exchange? A cultural exchange is when people from different backgrounds, cultures, or ethnicities, and shout out to people for the Cashapp deposits. Shout out to I don't know if you want me to say, it looked like you got your government name on here. I don't recognize nobody's screen name, but you know who you are that just sent the $10 on Cashapp. Shout out to you. I don't know if you want me to say your name like that. But a cultural exchange is when people from different backgrounds, cultures, or ethnicities actively share their traditions. What do? You got these people who are from different backgrounds, they're from different cultures and ethnicities, and they actively share their traditions, customs, values, and knowledge with each other, creating a two-way process of learning and understanding diverse perspectives. That's what a cultural exchange is. It's a two-way street. You learn a little bit about my culture. I learn a little bit about your culture. We kind of find common ground on certain things. We find certain things about our cultures that complement each other, and we bring them together. We fuse them in with one another. There's a cultural exchange that takes place. And then we can say, and then, after we do that, you bring some of your knowledge, some of your traditions, some of your customs to the table. I bring some of my knowledge, some of my traditions, and some of my customs to the table, and we start to fuse that together, and then we make something new out of those two, out of that cultural exchange. Something new comes about, and then we can say we created that 50-50. Because when you think about that, right? When you think about how I just explained that, this is how we get to be foundational Black Americans. Foundational Black Americans are a result of a cultural exchange. Foundational Black Americans came about after an amalgamation of different cultures blending together to become something new. That's how you get foundational Black Americans, because you have Black indigenous people who are already here on this land with their history, with their culture, right? With their traditions, so on and so forth. You have Africans who were brought here through the transatlantic slave trade, who came with their history, their customs, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? You have the people who came prior to Columbus and all of that, the explorers who were here prior to Columbus and all of that, who were doing cultural exchanges with each other, who were exchanging ideas, knowledge, and traditions with one another. And over the centuries, not overnight, but over the centuries, they all got amalgamated into one group and created a brand new ethnicity that we refer to as foundational Black Americans. That's what that is. We are the living embodiment of a cultural exchange. Hip hop is not that. Everything that we associate with hip hop, all of the customs, all of the traditions, the knowledge, all of it can be traced back to foundational Black American culture only. We can't find none of these ingredients in Jamaica or in Puerto Rico. And I'm gonna just keep it at that because those are the ones that's really making the claim. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to spread it out to the Caribbean and just Latinos in general. I'm going to be very specific. We can't trace any of those things back to Jamaica or Puerto Rico. So what did they bring to exchange with us? It only went one way. That's not a cultural exchange. What you have is culture shock. That's what took place when the couple of Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans that showed up to the parties and the jams and all of that. They experienced a culture shock, and then they assimilated into our culture that already existed. It wasn't a two-way street. They didn't influence anything that we started to pick up on and do, and then create something new out of our two things. No, they came and started doing what we were already doing. There was no cultural exchange. That's the reason why, because if that was the case, hip hop would have within the lexicon of hip hop, within the traditions of hip hop, you would have certain Puerto Rican elements. Within the lexicon and the traditions of hip hop, you would have certain Jamaican elements. I'm talking about in the core, in the foundation of what hip hop is. Hip hop is a sample culture. So sure, later on down the line and all of that, we sampled from reggae music, and we probably sampled some Hector Lavoe records and all that shit later on. We got samples of anything that exists, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what hip hop is. Takes things and repurposes them and recreates them to do something fly with it. That's what hip hop is. And that's also foundational Black American culture, because that's what we had to do to survive. Whether it's our food, our cuisine, that was made from scraps. We had to take it and repurpose it and make something fly out of it. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's, you know what I'm saying? Even the fashion I talked about a couple of weeks ago, the only reason why people wear blue jeans, wearing blue jeans as a form of fashion comes out of foundational Black American culture. Because jeans were only something that we wore as the working class. It was something that represented the working class. When you were working in the fields as, sharecroppers and stuff like that, they wore jeans. You know what I'm saying? And through our civil rights movement, we made it a fashionable thing, through our protests by wearing it as a statement to represent that class of people that were being disenfranchised and undermined. And then it became fashionable and people started wearing it. You know what I'm saying? And so we didn't create it, we repurposed it. You know what I'm saying? So just the sampling aspect of hip hop, that's foundational Black American culture. But anyway, I don't want to lose myself. I'm talking about why it wasn't a cultural exchange. You know what I'm saying? Why is it that the Puerto Ricans who are down with hip hop and the Jamaicans who are down with hip hop, and again, I'm only going to just limit it to those two groups. This goes for everybody, but I'm just going to limit it to those two groups who are making this claim. Why is it that the Jamaicans and the Puerto Ricans who are down with hip hop, they all act like us and talk like us and walk like us and do what we do, but we don't do what they do and walk like them and talk like them? It's not a two-way thing. It only goes one way. If it was this whole melting pot cultural exchange thing going on, it would be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It would be us taking on some of their traditions, them taking on some of our traditions. But we don't see that. We see them only taking on our traditions. Right? Am I right or am I wrong? Am I right or am I wrong? So that's the way that the conversation has to be framed. We got to take it out of this idea of when we're talking about the origins of hip hop, it's what happened in the Bronx in the early 70s. That's framing the conversation totally wrong, and it's disrespectful to the roots of hip hop. When you hear Melly Mel come out talking this shit, and let me play this video from Melly Mel. When you hear Melly Mel come out explaining for Fat Joe talking this shit, it's all about him, his position, the Bronx, what he did and what the people he knows did in the Bronx. And that's the end all be all. But you give no props whatsoever to the people that influenced you, the people that you were looking up to, the people that you were trying to be like, the people that came before you that made it possible for you to even do what you do. You give no props to them whatsoever. You don't mention the funk records. You don't mention James Brown. You don't mention Parliament Funkadelic, Earth, Wind, and Fire. You don't mention, you know what I'm saying, none of the blues greats. You don't mention bebop or none of the stuff that came prior to that influenced everything that you guys were doing in the Bronx, that made it possible to create this movement in the first place. You only talk about you and the people that you were around as if y'all created something out of the ashes of the burning buildings in the Bronx. And that's not what happened. Right. If you were told you were acting like a Puerto Rican, you were getting roasted. Right. Same thing with Jamaicans. If somebody said you was dressed like a Jamaican, that wasn't a good thing. Right. None of us copy them at all. Facts. We sampled some of their music in a few songs, but it didn't change our sound. It did then. If it did, then they could claim an influence. Right. Right. Jim Jones, Joel Santana, Fabulous, AZ, Fat Joe, Foxy Brown, all are non-FBA, Puerto Rican and Dominican, who act black. Hip-hop clearly doesn't originate in those cultures. Shout out to my bro Ed Lewis in the building. Shout out to Rhythm and Black. Exactly. It got here by osmosis. Right. Like what? Like what? No. There's roots to this thing. It's an evolution. Hold on. Let me go over here. Hold on. And shout out to the people who are sending me hitting me up on the Cash App, man. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all supporting the channel and all of that. My brother Black Voltron Reloaded with the Cash App. I appreciate that. Browser has lost connection to this audio. Now, you know what? I don't got Nicety Girl on here. So I don't got nobody to hold me down so I can reset this thing. Ah, man, what am I going to do? Hold on. Let me stop sharing. Let me see if this works. Stop sharing. I lost connection to the audio. Damn. I want to play some of what Melly Mel was saying. Let me see if this works. Let me see if this works. Let me know if y'all can hear this, family. Let me know if y'all can hear this.
It's not a thing to be divisive. That whole thing, we gotta put all that on the back page.
Can y'all hear that? Can y'all hear that? Calling it Bronx music or Bronx culture is straight erasure of a people. Facts. Let me know if y'all can hear that. Loud and clear? All right, good. Good. Yes, indeed. I appreciate everybody with the Cash Apps. Y'all can also participate in the Super Chat if you want to support the channel that way. We got the Super Chat going as well. But the Cash App is godcastent, $ godcastent. That is the Cash App. All right, y'all saying y'all can hear it, so let's go. And fair use, by the way, fair use. This is from, I think, Art of Dialogue did this interview. I think Art of Dialogue did this interview. Shout out to Art of Dialogue.
Who's Puerto Rican, who's black, you know what I mean? That's not the issue. And the glory is supposed to go, like I said, to the creators. I can sit here and say, I built the pyramid, and Hotep and them built the pyramid.
So let me address that part right there. Let me address that part right there. He said, I could sit here and say that I built the pyramid, and Hotep and them built the pyramid. And see, this is what happens And you know, I try not to be disrespectful to people who are considered legends, but we gotta speak truth to power, family. We gotta speak truth to power. And there are a lot of people who are considered legends in the rap game who lack one of the primary elements of hip hop. And that is called knowledge of self. Too many people who are considered to be legends in hip hop lack one of the primary elements, and that is the element of knowledge of self. When you don't have knowledge of self, you don't understand that we are our ancestors. When you don't have knowledge of self, who you are, and your origins in this world, you don't understand that we are our ancestors. And so that was Imhotep and them. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I can't take credit for that. That was Imhotep and them. But there's a reason why the white supremacists and the dominant society try to remix that history and whitewash that history. And they don't want you to know that that's you. It's a reason why they go out their way to erase that and to whitewash it. Because if you understand who you are and what your power is, you're going to act accordingly. But if you don't see yourself as that, that's something else that's not even connected to you. Then again, you're going to act accordingly. You're going to act according to that lack of knowledge, as opposed to acting according to having the proper knowledge. He said Imhotep was a Kemite living and expressing Kemetic culture. That is the false equivalent by Melly Mel. Elaborate on that, son from Brooklyn. Elaborate on that. But I'm gonna play some more of this.
I ain't build shit. If you could say black people build hip hop, you didn't build shit. You look.
And so again, when you don't have knowledge of self, not only do you dismiss your ancestry, not only do you dismiss and dishonor your ancestry, but you also dismiss and dishonor your offspring. You are just your own entity. You don't got no roots. You ain't connected to nothing that came before you, and you don't give a damn about nothing that comes after you. It's all about me right now, me and mine. That's the reason why this nigga is sitting here 60, I think he said he's 63 years old, and he hasn't evolved. This is the reason why we could look at him currently, and we could pull up pictures of him in the 90s, in the 80s, and in the 70s, and we don't see much of an evolution. You see a little bit of evolution from the 70s, because in the 70s, he was out here trying to dress like the Parliament Funkadelic and all of them. He was trying to dress like, you know, Sly and the Family Stone and Earth, Wind, and Fire and niggas like that. He was wearing costumes. You know what I'm saying? Right. That rugged individualist mindset. Right. Crew royality. Facts. It's all about me, mine. You don't have no connection to your people. There's no cultural connection. There's no ancestral connection. And you don't give a shit about your children either. This is an egotistical, selfish, narcissistic, and I hate that word because it's overused, but I think here it's very fitting. This is a narcissistic mindset. I ain't build them pyramids. You can't say black people created hip hop. I created hip hop. Me. That's who. Fuck the rest of you niggas. Y'all wasn't there in the Bronx. Y'all ain't have nothing to do with this. It was me. I gave y'all this. This is what you hear from this man. Y'all spitting. Imhotep was not a scientist in a vacuum. Melly Mel is putting up a straw man argument to protect tethers now. Them folk must have gotten his ear and he's soft shoe tap dancing. It is a straw man argument, Black Voltron Reloaded. And that's what I mean by the improper framing of this conversation. They have to frame it a certain way to create these straw mans. They have to frame it down to the Bronx and to their block and to their projects and to the particular park that they was hanging out with at in the 70s. They have to frame it all the way down to there so that they can create the straw man argument and not address the real issue of what's being said about the culture and where it actually comes from. They don't want to have this robust conversation where we really got to unpack everything. Because why? Because you can't bring no evidence to hold up your argument and your stance. It doesn't have no legs to stand on when we have a robust conversation and really unpack this from, you know, a standpoint of like what my brother Dewan B is doing from a scientific and an anthropological standpoint. There's no legs for them to stand on. So you got to narrow it down to some mythological story that happened in a rec room in 1973, an apartment building. You got to narrow it down to that, because then you could fit yourself into it and you could bring your Puerto Rican friends in there with you. That's what it's all about. Let's continue.
Looking at one of the guys that did it. And I'm telling you what it is. It's not a divisive thing. It's not a thing that's supposed to bring people apart. It's not a thing where it's all this friction. It's a thing that, you know, we jamming, we partying, we all in the same room together.
Again, it's no scholarship here. You're supposed to be a pioneer, a OG, a legend in the game, somebody that we supposed to respect and uphold. And you nigger babbling. You nigger babbling. You ain't bringing no scholarship to the game. This is Negro babble.
We all on the same stage together. Of course, it's competition, but at the end of the day, you know.
And I want to say this too. And you are an insecure opportunist. Let me say that, because Melly Mel was in microphone check. Why was Melly Mel in microphone check? Because he thought it would be something that would be beneficial for him. He didn't agree to do microphone check because he wanted to get on record to help correct the narrative and tell the real truth about the origin story of hip hop. He saw an opportunity that would be beneficial for Melly Mel. That's the reason why he agreed to sign up and do microphone check. And that's the reason why he's flip-flopping now. Because now there's another opportunity, a perceived opportunity, because, you know, Fat Joe and Crazy Legs and them niggas done called him up and say, yo, Mel, you know, them FBA niggas, man, you know what I'm saying? We got to do something about this, man. You know, I'm your guy, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm your guy, man. Yo, you know, we about to have this tour coming up. I was going to bring you out on this tour to open up, but they got you in this microphone check thing, man. It's like you shitting on us Puerto Ricans now, man. What's up with that, man? I thought we was cool. You know what I'm saying? And he like, no, it wasn't like that, Joe. It wasn't like that. You know, I just thought it was a regular hip hop documentary. I didn't know them FBA niggas was going to be using my words for this, that, and that. No, Joe. I'm still cool, Joe. You said you got a show coming up? What you said? You about to do a tour or something? That's what you said? Because since when? Y'all tell me if I missed something. Because he mentioned in this clip that he said, every time Fat Joe got something going on, he pulls me in. Y'all refresh my memory. I don't remember him doing nothing with Melly Mel. Fat Joe been in the game 30 years. Fat Joe been out since 1992 or some shit like that. 1991, 1992. I don't never remember him bringing Melly Mel out to nothing. What did I miss, y'all? Did I miss something? When did he ever bring Melly Mel out for something? Was he in one of Fat Joe's videos? Was he on a skit on one of his albums or something? Did he bring him out on tour? Did he bring him out at an award show somewhere? When did he make sure Melly Mel had a place and got his flowers and got his just due as a pioneer in the game? When did Fat Joe go out his way to celebrate Melly Mel? Did I miss something? Because you know who I seen do that? You know who I saw bring Melly Mel out? What's that white boy's name? What's the white boy's name that beat Kendrick Lamar for the Grammy? I think it was the To Pimp a Butterfly album. The white boy had a song out. The white rapper had a song out, and he had Melly Mel in them. He was bringing them out to award shows and shit. Perform with him. Macklemore, thank you. That's who I seen do that. Macklemore. Macklemore held you up and gave you more props than I ever seen Fat Joe do. Macklemore paid more respect than Fat Joe. So what am I missing? But when you listen to the man talk, it's 100,000% ego. It's 1,000% ego speaking.
It is music. I'm going to address the 300-pound white elephant in the room. What do we do about Fat Joe? And the answer is not a thing. You do the same thing that when he said that did when he said it around. But now, you can like Joe, you cannot like Joe. Joe's a Bronx.
Joe's a Bronx nigga. Joe's a Bronx nigga. So because Fat Joe is from the Bronx, that gives him a pass to just run ramshot through the culture and do whatever he want to do and say whatever he want to say. That gives him rank over foundational Black Americans who he's emulating. He out here cosplaying as a Black man, and he got more rank than the Black men he cosplaying because he's from the Bronx? What kind of shit is that? You got more say over the niggas that you cosplaying, pretending to be, the niggas that you abandoned your own culture to assimilate in their culture. You got more rank. This is some South Africa shit. This is some apartheid shit. Where the Afrikaans is more African than the Africans now. That's what the fuck this sound like.
Joe ain't no outsider. He's a Bronx nigga.
Huh? Joe ain't no outsider. Joe is a white man from Puerto Rico and Cuba. Joe's a white man whose family comes from Puerto Rico and Cuba. He's an outsider as far as foundational Black American culture is concerned. Yeah, he might be from the Bronx, but that don't make him a FBA.
So at the end of the day, if it's a Bronx digging from the crate crew or somebody, you call Joe, you wild and whatever. That's all that internet shit. See, that's that girl shit. You could say Joe, but when you see Joe, you're going to puff your chest up. You're going to get husky and say, Joe, no, you're not.
Oh, my God. That's another thing. I don't know why they try to make it seem like niggas is supposed to be scared of Fat Joe or something. First of all, nobody's scared of Fat Joe. That's number one. But number two, that's not what this is about. This ain't no tough man contest. We doing scholarship, homie. Shout out to people chipping in on the Cash App. Who just sent the cat? Oh, that wasn't Cash App. That wasn't the Cash App. That was the I'm doing a fundraiser for my son, by the way, y'all. I should drop that link in the chat. I don't got the link here. I would drop that link in the chat. I'm doing a fundraiser for my son's basketball team too. Y'all go on my Twitter and my Instagram. Y'all see the link if y'all want to support my son's fundraiser for his basketball team. You know, they raise their funds so they could do the end of the season celebrations and get their trophies and all of that type of stuff. And whoever raises the most money will get 2 tickets to a Hawks game. So we trying to win that thing. So if y'all want to help support Seven and his basketball team, the link is on my Facebook and my Twitter page. Yeah. But what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Oh, that's Star. What's up, Star? Shout out to some chick named Star. You changed your profile picture. I was like, who got a wrench? I was like, who's that with a wrench? Shout out to some chick named Star in the building. I forgot what I was saying. Let me rewind it a little bit.
Joe, no, you're not.
Oh yeah, the tough guy thing. Yeah, that's not what it's about. We doing scholarship, homie. This ain't no tough guy contest. It ain't about whether niggas gonna beat Joe up when they see him and all that. No, that ain't what this is about. We correcting the history with real scholarship, homie. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not just a brute. Some of us have the capacity to think. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing about this egotistical dude right here, because he's also delusional. He think because he got muscles that mean he look young. You don't look that young, my nigga. You talking about, y'all? I ain't never seen no 63-year-old look this good, huh? You tripping? You tripping? And I don't want to make this a personal attack now. I don't want to do no ad hominems on here, but nigga.
You don't gotta like Joe, my nigga. Joe, my nigga. Anytime he do something, you see your mailman, come on out here with me. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, anybody could say something you don't agree with. We men. All that internet. Oh yeah, you're gonna pass around a petition. You know, like what the f you gonna send them to Guatemala or something? You're gonna send them to Guantanamo Bay or something? You know, anybody got an opinion. See, really, I don't really have a dog in the fight. I know I was there.
I don't really have a dog in the fight. I know I was there. See, really, I don't really have a dog in the fight. I know I was there. Sometimes you got to slow walk this shit, family. Sometimes you got to slow walk this shit and really think about what people are saying. I ain't on the black side or the Puerto Rican side. I'm on my side. I'm just here to make sure my spot is solidified and I'm able to get something out of this. Thank you, Crown 808. Anybody who want to support my son's basketball team, Crown 808, just put the link in the chat. Shout out to Crown 808 in the building. You got to think about what people are saying. I don't got no dog in the fight. I know I was there. So I ain't saying black people created it. I ain't saying Puerto Ricans created it. I'm saying I created it. Me, that's who. That's what he's saying. That's the disgusting part about this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes this shit so turns my stomach about this whole thing, because it's treasonous. Treasonous to your ancestors and treasonous to your children. Shout out to Black Voltron for another donation to the Cash App. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know everybody else that's talking about it wasn't there. But the thing is, as far as that personalized
I know everybody else that's talking about it wasn't there. That's not true. You got people who were there that are talking about this. And being there doesn't matter. That's the part that I really, that's what today's broadcast is really all about. When I say people are talking about this in the wrong way, people got the narrative wrong, that's the part that I want to drive home the most. Being there in the Bronx or not being there in the Bronx during the 1970s doesn't qualify you or disqualify you from being valid in this conversation. Just because you were there doesn't make what you're saying valid. And just because you weren't there doesn't invalidate what you're saying. The only thing that's going to validate you in this conversation is whether you speak in truth or not. You don't have to have been there. I wasn't there during the civil rights movement. That means I can't talk about it. I wasn't there when Malcolm got gunned down. That means I can't talk about it. I studied it though. There's evidence. There's evidence. There's information out there that we can look up and research and study and find out what happened. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't there during slavery. Me personally. That mean I can't talk about it? That's dumb. That's a dumb argument. That's what today's broadcast is really, really, really all about. When I say people are having the wrong conversation when it comes to the hip-hop origin story, that's exactly what I mean. It's not about who was there and who wasn't there in the 1970s in the Bronx. That doesn't matter. That does not matter.
For me was that I read and it was in one, and they called Joe a white Puerto Rican. I don't know about all that.
That's what he is. And again, I believe you when you say you don't know about all that, because it's quite evident to me that you lack knowledge yourself. It's quite evident to me that when I hear you speak, I'm listening to an 85er. What is an 85er? Shout out to whoever just contributed to my son's fundraiser. Somebody just contributed to Seven's fundraiser, and we just reached the 500 mark. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's quite evident to me that when I'm listening to you speak, brother, I'm listening to an 85er. The 85% is the dumb, deaf, and blind. The 85er is easily led in the wrong direction, but hard to lead in the right direction. He doesn't have no knowledge of himself or his origins in this world. That's the definition of an 85er loosely, not word for words. I know the God body's listening right now. You niggas gonna get on me because I ain't quoted word for word. That's the basic definition of an 85er, y'all. Somebody who is dumb, deaf, and blind, lacks knowledge of self, doesn't know who he is, nor his origins in the world. He is easily led in the wrong direction and hard to lead in the right direction. So I believe you when you say you don't know, you ain't know there was a such thing as a white Puerto Rican. You just think because Fat Joe say he black, that mean he black. Because he identify as black. He told you he grew up around black folks and he feels like he's black, then that means he black, and all Puerto Ricans is black. But we done broke down the statistics on here the last couple of weeks on this show. And we showed you that only 2% of Puerto Ricans in the world, not just Puerto Ricans, but only 2% of Latinos in the whole entire world identify as black, identify themselves as black. Are there black Latinos? Sure, there are. Those are just black people who were conquered by Spaniards. We have those. There are those. Fat Joe is not one of them.
I don't know about all that. He's Puerto Rican. What do we do if
Puerto Rican is not a race, Melly Mel? Puerto Rican is not a race. Puerto Rican is not even an ethnicity. Puerto Rican is a nationality, really. Ain't nothing too unique about a Puerto Rican. What's really unique about a Puerto Rican and a Cuban, which Fat Joe is Puerto Rican and Cuban. Fat Joe is Puerto Rican and Cuban. Well, how do you differentiate culturally or ethnic wise? What's the difference between a Puerto Rican and a Cuban besides the island that they come from? It ain't too much really distinctive differences between them. Ain't nothing really unique about a Puerto Rican. They speak the same language. They eat the same rice and beans. They dance to the same salsa music. What's the difference? Is there a glaring difference between a Puerto Rican and a Cuban family? Is there a glaring difference between a Puerto Rican and a Cuban? They have to tell you, no, I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm Cuban. You can't tell. Now, I would say Mexicans are unique, a unique group of Latinos, right? You could tell the difference between a Puerto Rican and a Mexican, usually off top. Usually you could look at somebody or talk to somebody for 5 minutes and you'll know if you're talking to a Puerto Rican or a Mexican. But a Puerto Rican and a Cuban, a Dominican, a Costa Rican, Colombian, what's the big difference between all of them? There ain't no real big differences between them. Mexicans is a little bit different. Their food is a little bit different. They speak Spanish, but their dialect is a little different. Their music is different. Right? Mexicans are the unique ones. And if you think about it, when it comes to Latin America, the Mexicans are the most hated. Amongst the different Latin American countries, they all look down on the Mexicans. And the Mexicans are the most unique group. When you really think about it, it's like us. Out of the black diaspora, everybody look down on us. We the most unique group out of everybody. Ain't that something? I just thought about that too. That's something that just dawned on me. I never thought about that before. By Mel's logic, if Puerto Ricans are allegedly black, then they should be in 100% support and celebration of hip-hop origins being founded by our foundational Black American. Right. If they black, then what is this whole conversation about? If they black, how is it 50-50 then? If we all the same, everybody black, where's the other 50 then? It makes no sense. And this is why I said they don't want to have the robust conversation because there's no legs to stand on.
About Fat Joe, the same, like I said, the same thing that you did or that the guys did when he said what he said around them, you do the same thing that they did. Now,
first of all, most of them niggas that he was sitting around were tethers. Math Hoffa and all of those guys that he was sitting around when he said what he said, those are not foundational Black Americans. I know Melly Mel don't know that. But I'm just saying, those are not foundational Black Americans. But to be fair, even if they were, I don't think it would have went down much differently. There might have been some verbal pushback to the narrative if there was some foundational Black Americans in the room. Maybe there would have been some verbal pushback on the narrative, but there wouldn't have been like nobody jumping on him about him saying the word nigga. I know people from different parts of the country and all of that, they got a real big, serious problem with that. But if I'm gonna be honest, foundational Black Americans from New York, people like me, the people that grew up like me, we wouldn't even hear it. When Puerto Ricans say nigga like that, we don't even hear it. It just sounds like any one of us saying nigga. That's just being honest about the situation. We grew up like that. Puerto Ricans say nigga. It never been a problem. It ain't gonna all of a sudden start being a problem. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not justifying it. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm just telling you what it is. So on that part, even if it was a room full of foundational Black Americans, wasn't nobody gonna get upset about Fat Joe saying the word nigga. But as far as him saying 50-50 and all of that, if there was some foundational Black Americans in the room, I believe there would have been some pushback on that. That part, I think there would have been some pushback on that. But I ain't gonna sit here and cap and act like, you know, Puerto Ricans don't be saying nigga like that. They do.
Hey, he said what he said. You agree with it? You don't agree with it? Joe's a Bronx nigga. That's my nigga. Big shout out to Scorp. And big shout out to Peter Guns. And just like he's in the words of Peter Guns, if it wasn't for the Bronx, come on, man. Come on, man. Everybody ate off this shit. Hey, look at me. I ain't doing bad. I ain't.
Man, when you get older, we supposed to depend on you for wisdom. We supposed to be able to depend on the elders for wisdom. Do y'all hear wisdom coming from this man? I'm not trying to do no personal attacks and just sit here and disparage Melly Mel as an individual. I'm trying to address the narrative itself, but you got to put it in context. You got to put it in context. And it's glaring to sit here and listen to this man who's old enough to be my dad and not get any wisdom from it. Whether I agree or disagree, I should be able to glean some type of wisdom from an elder. This is not wisdom.
Doing bad. Everybody ate off the shit, but if it wasn't for the Bronx, and you gotta remember that, and you gotta respect that. All like I said, we gonna put all this shit on the back page. Y'all could keep doing girls on the internet about who said what or who shot John, but you ain't gonna be husky when you see these niggas. So stop. The hip hop culture is Bronx culture.
That's the myth. That's the myth, y'all. The lie is Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans created hip hop 50-50. This whole hip hop is Bronx culture. That's the myth. And the problem with the myth is it has been recorded as factual. That's the problem with it. Really, there's nothing wrong with mythologies. There's nothing wrong with mythologies. Like I said, it's a simple way to tell a complicated story. And that would be fine if it didn't introduce all of these problems. We can't allow this myth to stand as the facts of history, because it makes way for these lies. And that opens the door to this cultural erasure, this ethnocide. And we just ain't having that.
There is no hip hop. That's second. The initial culture is Bronx culture, something that Bronx niggas put out to the world that turned into hip hop. We gave that to y'all. Everybody could win. But
who's the first MC you say?
How y'all gave us something? How y'all gave us something? Y'all was playing grandma and them records. Y'all brought them records out the house. Your grandmother and your aunties and them had those record collections. What you mean y'all gave us something?
You're looking at just a man right here, the legend king himself. I look so just a man right here, the legend king himself. But
who's the first MC you say?
You're looking at just a man right here, the legend king himself. I look so good. If you see a better looking 63-year-old nigga than me, you have to bring this nigga to me so I can see him for myself. Other than that, I just gotta keep looking in the motherfucking mirror, baby. Everybody could win. But
who's the first MC you say?
You're looking at just a man right here, the legend king himself. I look so good. If you see a better looking 63-year-old nigga than me, you have to bring this nigga to me so I could win. But
who's the first MC you say?
You're looking at just a man right here, the legend king himself. I look so good. If you see a better looking 63-year-old nigga than me, you have to bring this nigga to me so I can see him for myself. Other than that, I just gotta keep looking in the motherfucking mirror, baby. Could win. But
who's the first MC you say?
You're looking at just a man right here, the legend king himself. I look so good. If you see a better looking 63-year-old nigga than me, you have to bring this nigga to me so I can see him for myself. Other than that, I just gotta keep looking in the motherfucking mirror, baby. This is.
I'm sorry, y'all. I had to play that a few times. I had to let y'all hear that a few times. I had to let y'all hear that statement a few times because that right there encapsulates everything that we dealing with. That right there encapsulates exactly what we're dealing with when we listen to Melly Mel speak. It is 1,000,000% ego. Melly Mel is the first MC? Since when? Melly Mel is the first MC? Melly Mel was in the movie Microphone Check. He said he got it from Hollywood. Did y'all see the movie Microphone Check? Did y'all see Tariq's documentary Microphone Check? Melly Mel was in there. They asked him about what inspired him to rap. Now, Melly Mel might be the first MC that a lot of people heard and that people were inspired by because I think it was Sha Rock in the movie that said Melly Mel was the first MC that she heard rap. But Melly Mel said he got it from Hollywood. And Coke LaRock was in the movie. Coke LaRock was rapping before Melly Mel. But again, I don't want to make this about who was the first nigga that was rapping in the parks and in the rec rooms and in the Bronx in the 1970s. Because again, that's not what this conversation is about because people were rapping long before that. I can see if you made up something new. I can see if nobody ever rapped before and you was the first nigga that ever rapped, but people already been rapping. You wasn't doing nothing different than what Muhammad Ali was doing. James Brown, Pig Meat, Cab Calloway, the Jubileers, Satchmo, all of the radio DJs, Jacko Henderson and all of them. Y'all go listen to Dewan B's broadcast. Like I said, Dewan B is doing the anthropological work on this topic right here. I can't do what he do. I can only do what I do. But y'all go check out Dewan B's channel where he break all of this shit down about the radio DJs who was already rapping with the same cadence and everything like Melly Mel and them started doing. Niggas didn't make up nothing new. You the first MC? That's wrong on many different levels. I mean, it's just wrong on the basic level, even in the way that he's trying to frame the story, because Coke LaRock was before you. Melly Mel came later. Melly Mel is a pioneer, But he came later. He wasn't even there in the early 70s. Melly Mel came around in the mid to late 70s. Melly Mel came around like 76, 77 or something like that. So even with the mythological story, you came later. No matter how you want to frame this, that whole first MC shit was just a lie. Like what? They get gassed up by the myths and then they start lying and making stuff up. Who royalty? Let me go here. Hopefully I don't lose the audio. And I've been on here for a minute with y'all, man. I've been on here for a minute with y'all, but I'm sorry. We're gonna have to unpack this. We're gonna have to unpack this today. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to make this a short broadcast, but it's all right. I'll chop some of these clips up and post some of the shorter clips later on. We're just gonna have to do what we do here today because I ain't done yet. I ain't done yet. But you're not the first MC, Melly Mel. And shout out to DJ FaZe. DJ FaZe is one of the OGs from the early days in the Bronx in the 70s who's actually standing on business. And he was in the movie Microphone Check as well, too. And he don't like what he's hearing from some of these flip-flopping niggas, Charlie Rocket and Melly Mel and these niggas. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to DJ FaZe standing on business.
Grand Rising people, kings and queens, Grand Rising. Wow. You know, I wake up to hear all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. You know, the amount of people that are changing their stories now is ridiculous. You know, it's really ridiculous. And you have to look at it and say, well, if they're changing their story and they're going with the narrative, all they're doing and what they've been doing is trying to be with the in crowd. That's it. They're trying to be with the in crowd. And if they're going against the in crowd, it's because someone's paying them. That's number one. Someone's paying them. And they'll rather take money instead of integrity. How are you going to... And, you know, I respect Melly Mel. I respect him. But I always have said, he's not first generation. He's not. It's just simple. No one is first generation if they're not 70, 71, 72, and 73.
Right. Melly Mel came later. Shout out to DJ FaZe. Melly Mel came later. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't know what he's talking about. But like I said, I ain't quite done yet. I'm not quite done here yet. I gotta pull something else up because y'all see on the thumbnail, on today's thumbnail, y'all see I got a picture of, hold on. I got a picture of Doggy Diamonds on today's thumbnail. And I'm talking about how people are getting this conversation wrong about the origin story of hip hop. That's what today's conversation is about. And I got Doggy Diamond's picture on the thumbnail, but I'm not really talking about Doggy Diamonds per se. I think Doggy Diamonds is doing a good job. Shout out to Doggy Diamonds. I think Doggy Diamonds is doing a good job documenting the real history here. But he had a brother on the show the other day called Minnesota. Minnesota is a legendary hip-hop producer. He's worked with people like Big Pun, Mos Def, and others. He produced some classics in hip-hop. And Doggy Diamonds had him on to have this conversation recently. And I was watching it and I was checking it out. And shout out to Minnesota. Minnesota is a foundational Black American brother from the Bronx, from the 1970s. Doggy Diamonds is on code. Yeah, shout out to Doggy Diamonds. Said that was a great interview with Minnesota. It was. It was a good interview. I think Doggy Diamonds does a good job. And Minnesota is not an easy person to interview because, you know, sometimes he don't answer the questions. He kind of goes all over the place. He goes on tangents. And Doggy Diamonds kept trying to bring him back and get him, you know, to answer certain questions and all of that. So Doggy Diamonds does a good job. But some people are just hard to interview. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not putting nothing on Doggy Diamonds. He did what he could do. He'd make it a good interview. But it was certain parts where Minnesota would get the rambling on about certain things and not really answering the question that was asked. And now Minnesota, I think I said he's a foundational Black American. I'm assuming, let me say that. I'm assuming Minnesota is a foundational Black American brother. He may not be. But I'm assuming he is. He sounds to be, from what, you know, just listening to him talking, what he was saying on there. But even though he's on the side of Puerto Ricans ain't have nothing to do with this, Black people created hip hop 100%, even though that's what he's saying, he's still one of the people that I say is framing the conversation all wrong. Because even though he's saying that, he's still one of the people who's trying to make it a Bronx thing. And not just the Bronx, but I think he's from the West Side. I think he's from the West Bronx. I forgot which part of the Bronx he was from, but he's basically framing it all the way down to his particular neighborhood. And if you're not from that neighborhood, you're really not qualified to speak according to him. And so even though I agree with his argument, I still have to correct the narrative and frame this thing properly. And so the interview is very long. Obviously, I can't go through the whole thing, and I didn't save any bookmarks or anything like that. So right now, it just happens to be at 7:07, and so I'm gonna start it at 7:07. It seems like that would be the proper place to start if you're a person like me. If your name is Sincere Love to God, and you have a son named Seven, and the video just happens to be at the 7:07 mark, that would seem like an appropriate place to start if you me, right? Wouldn't y'all agree? I don't know what part of the video this is. I don't know what's being said right here. But something tells me that this may give us exactly what we need. So let's see.
And I said it before. Doom, doom, doom.
Maybe not.
I'm not a player. I just crushed it. The original. The remix is cool, but I love that original because
like the original.
Because we know
you probably like the long soul sample.
Yo, because because you did the OJs, but I'm like, that sample is not the
okay, maybe not. Maybe 7:07 didn't give us what we need. But right now, he's just kind of telling y'all, you know, who Minnesota is and, you know, what qualifies him to speak and all of that.
There's a driver from a small.
Shit. Let me get past this commercial. Fair use, family, fair use. This is fair use. I'm not going to play too much. I just want to get a part that exemplifies what I'm talking about the framing of the conversation. If I could get a good part of that and we can unpack that, y'all can go watch the full interview if you choose. Let me see. Hold on a second, y'all. Because a lot of what he said, I agree with him on a lot of stuff that he's saying in the interview. His stance, I'm in complete agreement with. It's the framing of the conversation that I have a problem with. That's it. It's just the framing of the conversation. Trying to narrow it down to this Bronx story. But he doesn't do it in the way that Melly Mel is trying to do it with, you know, detaching it from black culture and all of that. He's not doing that. Although he's not being very specific about the lineage. I think he's more of a Pan-African kind of a coming from more of a Pan-African expression to say that it's all African music. Possibly he didn't say that explicitly, but I feel like that may be more of the perspective that he's coming from, to just say that it's black music, period. Right? Not saying foundational black American specifically. I didn't get that from him. And Doggy kept trying to kind of reiterate that. You know what I'm saying? And make that clear that that's what this was about. But I felt like Minnesota was making it more of a broad Pan-African kind of thing. That's what I got out of it. But let me see if I can find a good part that we can unpack, and then we can get out of here, because I've been on here almost 3 hours with y'all. But I really want to talk about some of this here.
No, it's just stuff like that I could go back and I can remember, to where a lot of people are lying now, Doggy.
All right, so that's what I want to get into, the lie. There's a narrative out there that Black Americans and don't laugh, bro. Black Americans and Puerto Ricans started hip hop 50-50. What does Minnesota have to say about that?
Cold-blooded, bold-faced lies.
Okay. And now, again, like I said, he's on the right side of history. I don't have a problem with it per se at all. And this is a brother, I really like it coming from him, because this is a brother who not only produced for Big Pun, but was close with Big Pun. He grew up with Big Pun. It was some Puerto Rican dudes that he talks about that put him in the game. He got a Puerto Rican baby mom or a Cuban baby mom or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? He got a lot of ties to the Puerto Rican and the Latino community. He got a lot of strong ties to the Puerto Rican and the Latino community in the Bronx. And he's saying that they had nothing to do with the creation of hip hop. So from that aspect, he has a lot of credibility. From that aspect, he has a lot of credibility to counter what's being said by these Bronx niggas. These niggas who try to frame it into this Bronx narrative, and that's the reason why they can crowbar Puerto Ricans into it. Here's a legendary Bronx nigga who was there, who has all of these close, strong ties to the Latino community and Puerto Rican specifically, who's debunking the lie. That's what I like the most about, hearing from Minnesota in this conversation. I'm glad he spoke up. I want to be clear about that.
So, Doggy, look, right? Let me.
And Jamaicans. They're saying Jamaicans too had some.
Okay, hold on. Now, here's the thing. In the 70s, now, even as a little boy, I knew this. African Americans was mean, bro.
Right.
It wasn't the things that fly now. They didn't fly then. It was organization. You know how you got the Bloods and all that stuff.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
The Crips and all that. Back then, you had to, if you were Jamaican, you had to cosplay and act as an African American. Because if you were to try and throw Bob Marley out of jail, they probably would have smacked you out of the park. They were mean. How else can I put it? Down by law was like a sanction. So every crew did have a Puerto Rican here and there.
Right.
But he was down by law. See, in Latin culture, in Puerto Rican culture, you got the Hicks, and then you got the Guitos, and then you got the Puerto Ricans that's down by law. And those were the ones that ran with the blacks.
Boom. Boom. So that's why I said I'm glad that he's a part of the conversation. And I feel like his perspective brings a lot of value to the conversation, because the Crazy Legs and the Fat Joes and the people like that can't argue with him. They can't try to say he's racist and he's down with the FBA cult and all of the shit that they try to do with us, because he ain't coming from that perspective at all. This is just a nigga from the Bronx who I think is a foundational Black American who's just honest about the dynamics that were happening in the Bronx. So since y'all want to frame it into this whole Bronx narrative and narrow it down to what happened in the Bronx in the 70s and try to rewrite the history as if there was this big kumbaya between the Blacks and the Puerto Ricans, since y'all want to do that, boom, this breaks all of that up. This destroys all of that. And he's not the only one, but I'm just saying, as an example, this destroys all of that. And he's definitely not the only one, because you have Puerto Ricans who are saying the same thing. You got whole Puerto Ricans out here saying the same thing. Nah, it wasn't like that. It was the Blacks, and we got down with the Blacks. It was their thing, and a couple of us came and got down with them, and the Latinos didn't really like us hanging out with the Blacks over there like that. They didn't really like that like that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he said they had to be down by law. All the Puerto Ricans that came around, they was co-signed by somebody. They was co-signed by somebody. Now, the way he's saying it, and I wasn't there, but the way he's saying it, because we, a lot of us, we criticize the foundational Black Americans who were there for not gatekeeping. A lot of us, we say, y'all niggas should have had the gates up. Y'all shouldn't have been letting all this shit slide. But when you listen to him tell the story, there was some gatekeeping going on. You had to be down by law. You couldn't just show up as an outsider. You had to be co-signed by somebody, or there was consequences and repercussions. That's why Grandmaster Cass said, yeah, a couple of my crew members was Puerto Rican, but they was down with me. You had to be down by law. You had to be co-signed by somebody who was reputable as an outsider, whether that's a Jamaican or a Puerto Rican. So sounds like there was some level of gatekeeping going on. Right? Just wanted to point that out.
There was no, listen, to this day, some of us, my children are Black and Latin and all that, Black, Latin, but to this day, we have cultural differences.
Mm-hmm.
We wasn't peachy kids. That wasn't happening. They would be at the gyms. I'm going to tell you when they showed up hard body.
Go ahead.
81, 82, it was over. After divulging into hip hop with records like CD3, the world is rough, so get tough. And it was a few records, but that's when they came into the scene. And
almost a decade later. So these are people who kind of grew up with it. These are the people that have been assimilated. That's when they start showing up hard body. After they were completely assimilated, the ones who were. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning, it was one or two. Like Grandmaster Cass said, in the beginning, it was only one or two. Here and there. I remember when I think it was Charlie Rock. I think it was Charlie Rock on one of those Wayne TV interviews. He said there was more whites around than there was Puerto Ricans. Wasn't that many. Here and there was one or two. But by the 80s, then they start showing up more and more. That's why you see them in the movies like Wild Style and all that. That's why you see Puerto Ricans being represented in some of the early hip hop movies and stuff like that. Because now we get to the 80s where a lot of them niggas was already assimilated into where I think that's where the down by law thing kind of started to be less of a thing. In the beginning, you had to be down by law. But by the time we get to the 80s, the floodgates was kind of open. You know what I'm saying? That's my conjecture, what I'm gathering from, listening to these different narratives and all of that.
inception point, yo, it's a bold face lie. Like, what were you doing? Were you carrying crates?
Mm.
Were you packing the equipment up when the jam was over?
Right.
Because
yeah, I never thought
look,
about that.
Mike, my first area, 169 in Boston Road, just when I opened my eyes to life.
I think I could use this, what he's saying right here, to make my point. Because again, we've been on here for a while. But I think I could use what he's saying right here to make my point. Because again, I agree with what he's saying. I'm glad. I think I played the Melly Mel video nicely. I don't know if he was in here. Let me see. I'm glad, he entered the chat and he's, giving his perspective. Okay, no, let me see what this is. Nicey just sent me another video on X. But let me, I'm gonna see what that is in a second. I'm gonna see what that is in a second. But let me just deal with what he was saying right there. Because he's talking about, hold on. Because he's talking about who was at the jams and who wasn't at the jams, because right now they're talking about whether Puerto Ricans were there at the exception, blah, blah, blah. He's saying the Puerto Ricans came later. He's saying, what was you doing? Was you carrying crates? Was you unpacking the equipment when the jam was over? So he's talking about the origin story as if he's talking about the origin story. And he's qualifying whether they were a part of the creation or not by what they were doing at the jams in the Bronx. That's the problem that I have with the framing of the origin story of hip hop, because that's not what the conversation is about. The conversation is about the lineage of the elements. It's not about who was at the jams and what they were doing at the jams, because somebody could uncover some secret Puerto Rican somewhere who nobody knew was Puerto Rican. Some nigga that was at the jams rapping his ass off in the 70s that everybody thought was black. They're going to suddenly come out and find this nigga's birth records and say, oh, look, so-and-so was Puerto Rican. That proves 50-50 right there. No, it still doesn't, because the question is, did it come from Puerto Rico? Right? Let's just say, because they trying to lie on Mario. Remember they trying to lie on Disco King Mario and say he was Puerto Rican. Let's say that was true. Disco King Mario was Puerto Rican. Charlie Rock is Puerto Rican. Sasa, who they try to say was Puerto Rican too. Let's say all these people we come to find out was actually Puerto Rican. We thought they was black all this time, but come to find out we got hard evidence and proof that these people were Puerto Rican. Does that now make it true what they're saying, that it was Puerto Rican and black culture together creating hip hop? No, that still wouldn't make it true, because we have to trace the lineage of what they were doing. So where did Sasa, if Sasa's Puerto Rican, what were his influences to start breakdancing the way he was doing it? His style of dance that he was doing, what were the influences? Did he learn that in Puerto Rico? Was that something that was going on in Puerto Rico that he brought over here to America that we picked up on? Or did he get it from Peg Leg and them niggas that he was watching on the American Bandstand? Right? That's what we're talking about, the influences. Where did the influences come from? What's the lineage of this dance? What's the lineage of the rap? You know what I'm saying? That's what matters. It's not about who was at the jams and who wasn't at the jams. It's all about the lineage of the elements that went into creating these jams. Where did that come from? Because that's how cultures come about. A culture isn't something that magically appears out of thin air. A culture has a continuity from generation to generation. It evolves from generation to generation based on circumstances. So the circumstances change and the culture shifts here. The circumstances change and the culture shifts over here. That's how cultures come about. It's not something that just magically appears because somebody threw on a record and niggas start spinning on their heads. No. This came from somewhere. You saw somebody doing something that you were inspired by, and you put your little spin on it and your little twist on it. But let's trace it back. Let's trace it back. And when we trace it back, does it go to Puerto Rico? If not, that's the end of the conversation. Does it go to Jamaica? If not, that's the end of the conversation. And it does not. We find all of the evidence of all of the elements, the lineage of all these elements and foundational Black American culture, all of it from top to bottom. That's what the conversation is about. Not who was at the jams in the Bronx. That's only a part of the story. That's not speaking about the story in a holistic manner. That is the purpose of today's broadcast. I hope I'm making myself clear. I really hope I'm making myself clear. Let me see what Nicety Girl sent me. This is an old video of Melly Mel. Looked like this was the 80s. Let's see what Melly Mel was talking about back in the 80s. Shout out to my homegirl, Nicety, with the assist.
The rap was always around, but until it came out of the ghetto, that's when they put the name rap on it. Like if you study a lot of recordings or little commercials or jingles, you know, just like fairy tales and nursery rhymes is a rhyme in a form of a rap, but it didn't take on that form until, you know, it came from out of the ghetto, like, you know, a lot of the brothers, and they started rapping and they called it rap just to have something to call it. But, you know, it was always there, and that's why it always be there. You know, it ain't like it was something that just came up. It just became commercial, but rapping was always around. So, you know, it was all that space, but they just added the name from it coming from out of the streets.
Now, ain't this something, y'all? Hold on a second. Ain't this something, y'all? This looks to be about a 20-something year old Melly Mel. How long is that clip? There was more wisdom in a 38-second clip from a 20-something year old Melly Mel than we got out of the whole entire interview from a 63-year-old Melly Mel. There was more wisdom coming out of the mouth of a 20-something year old Melly Mel than a 63-year-old Melly Mel. Ain't that something? This wasn't the egotistical me. This was somebody who was more interested in a robust conversation. This was somebody who was willing to pay homage to the history and the things that came before him. This is not somebody who was trying to claim a creation of something. This is not somebody who was claiming to be the first of anything. Listen.
The rap was always around, but until it came out of the ghetto, that's when they put the name rap on it. Like if you study a lot of recordings or little commercials or jingles, you know, just like fairy tales and nursery rhymes is a rhyme in a form of a rap, but it didn't take on that form until, you know, it came from out of the ghetto, like, you know, a lot of the brothers, and they started rapping and they called it rap just to have something to call it. But, you know, it was always there, and that's why it always be there. You know, it ain't like it was something that just came up. It just became commercial, but rapping was always around. So, you know, it was all that space, but they just added the name from it coming from out of the streets.
God damn. Shout out to Nicety Girl for that clip right there. You said Melly Mel's perm was Puerto Rican? Nigga, that perm was Puerto Rican. Shout out to Nicety Girl for that clip right there, man. And I think that's a good way to end today's broadcast, man. I hope I was able to make my point. We have to have a holistic conversation in order to correct the narrative around the origins of hip hop. When we say Black people created hip hop, we're not talking about it was only Black people that were in the Bronx in 1973 and nobody else was there. That's not the claim. That's not the narrative. We're saying hip hop culture, all of the ingredients and all of the elements that make up hip hop culture are nothing but extensions of foundational Black American culture. And we can trace the lineage of every single element back to foundational Black Americans, what we were already doing in different parts of the country already. All of it from top to bottom. That's what we are saying. So that's before his head got inflated. I don't know if it's the narcotics. I don't know. It's a hard knock life out here. I don't want to judge nobody. People go through things, and you got to think about it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the pioneers have not been able to reap the fruits of their labor. You were a part of the inception of the industrialization, not the inception of the culture, but you were part of the inception of the industrialization of this thing that we call hip hop, that has now become this multi-billion-dollar, probably trillion-dollar industry when you really think about it. We say multi-billion-dollar when we're just talking about the music industry. But when you talk about hip hop culture influences so many things. We're talking about a $1 trillion industry because they had to create new technology. You have tech companies that were born out of hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? They had to create different devices and all of that stuff in order to accommodate what we were doing. You have all different type of media apparatuses and media outlets and print media, television media, movies, theater, clothing, just so many different things that benefited from the culture of hip hop. We're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry, really. And you have a lot of these pioneers who were part of the inception of that industrialization who have not been able to reap the benefits of that labor. Only thing they get is a shout out. Shout out to the OGs, right? And so that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that there haven't been platforms created by the next generation of MCs and DJs that came up who were standing on their shoulders, who were able to eat and benefit off of what was laid down, should have been creating platforms for these guys to be able to not only be celebrated, but to be compensated for what they did. That's why shout out to my favorite MC, Nasty Nasir Jones, for doing what he's doing with the what's the name of that hip hop honors award show that he created, where he's papering up some of the legends and the OGs and making sure that they got health care and stuff like that. He's not just giving them a trophy. You know what I'm saying? He's making sure that they good. And he's just one person. But all of these guys, you know what I'm saying? From everybody that came after all of these pioneers, from the LL to the Run DMC, to the Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, to the Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, the NWAs, and the Snoop Dogs, and the Too Shorts, and the E40s, and the 50 Cents, and all of these people that came after who've been able to eat off of this thing should have been creating platforms to benefit these pioneers. Because if it wasn't for them, these guys wouldn't have the platforms that they stand on. And so it's unfortunate that that's the case. But being that that's the case, that creates this opportunistic kind of mentality, because you want a chance to be able to eat and benefit off of your legacy. And so if the people that's giving you the opportunity to be able to eat and benefit off it are these colonizers that's trying to usurp and gentrify the culture, if they're the ones dangling the trinkets over the pioneers' heads, then that makes them susceptible to go along with the BS. You know what I'm saying? So when Fat Joe and them calls and they start dangling them trinkets over Melly Mel's head to get out there and you know, say this dumb shit, I kind of got to give a little bit of grace when I think about it that way. I kind of got to give a little bit of grace when I think about it that way. Because like I said earlier, the only person that I saw bring Melly Mel out on a big platform like that, on a big stage like that, was Macklemore. Nobody else did it. So it's kind of like, you know, to bring it back full circle, it's kind of like, you know, we talked about earlier with Snoop and Soulja Boy and them performing at the Trump situation, at the Trump inauguration and all of that. It's like, hey, Kamala and them ain't called me. You know what I'm saying? Trump and them offered me a bag. Yeah, I went and got that bag. Kamala and ain't called me. They ain't offered me no bag to come out and perform for them. And so Melly Mel probably he kind of on the same shit. You know, like shit, y'all foundational Black Americans, y'all niggas ain't doing nothing for me. Fat Joe said he got a bag for me. Fat Joe said, that's my nigga. He from the Bronx. He got a bag for me. So yeah, I'm gonna stand up for Fat Joe. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's unfortunate, but you gotta look at it that way. Erie is paradox. The serpent doesn't always have evil intentions. Just know what serpent is. That's a good point. Kenny's unholy grail. I like that. I like that. The serpent doesn't always have evil intentions. Just know what a serpent is, though. I like that. Right? They're not just dangling trinkets, but actual food, tangibles, resources above these old school hip hop pioneers. Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. And people gonna do what they gotta do to eat. And people gonna do what they gotta do to eat. So I might have been a little harsh on Melly Mel. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really want to shit on him personally. You know what I mean? Might have been a little harsh on Melly Mel here. But you know, I spoke my truth. I had to do it the way that I you know, the way that it came, that's how it came. The way that it came, that's how it came. And so, you know, it is what it is. But I appreciate y'all tapping in with me, man. Been on here over 3 hours today. It's a very long broadcast. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Shout out to everybody who chipped in on the super chat, everybody who sent in Cash App. I appreciate y'all. I think a couple of y'all donated to my son's basketball fundraiser. All of those links are in the chat, by the way. And if you're watching this on the replay, the links are in the description. If you want to support, $ godcastent, that's the Cash App. $ godcastent. But I think me and Nicety are back again this Thursday with another episode of the Black Business Showcase. So he needed the chastisement, though, Sincere. Yeah. You know, exactly. And but you know, like I said, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. It's hard, but it's fair. It's hard, but it's fair. But thank y'all, man. Thank y'all. If you are a business owner or entrepreneur, you want to be featured on our channel, send us an email, godcastenterprises@gmail.com. Let us know about your business so we can get you on the schedule for the Black Business Showcase. But again, me and Nicety will be back later on this week with another episode of the Black Business Showcase. I appreciate y'all once again. About to go chill with the cheerings for the rest of the night. We're supposed to get some more snow out here in Georgia in a couple of days. I don't know what's going on. Got the inauguration coming up tomorrow. Trump ass gonna be back in office. TikTok is shut down, then it's back up. I don't know what's going on out here, y'all. It's fires on the West Coast. We getting snow down south. It's crazy out here, man. So y'all, everybody stay safe. Everybody be blessed. I will see y'all in a couple of days, fam. Always remember, I'm not the master teacher. I am only the master student and signal booster for the voices of the new Black media. Peace and Black love. Out of here.
Yeah, like that. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen.